Sports Station. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
No, that's not fair, and I'm guessing that executive will be looking for work sooner rather than later if that's his analysis of Josh Allen. To call him one of the more overrated quarterbacks is asinine in my opinion.
Mike Danger.
It's a celebration. We're gonna celebrate, pal. Happy football. It's here.
Football, yes!
Gene Battaglia.
Josh Allen, good that he's relaxing, having some fun at Tahoe, shooting baskets. I don't know if you saw that, but what can Josh Allen actually do to be better this year to get to the Buffalo Bills where they need to be?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. It's a sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, 95.7 FM. AM 950. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app or on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And you can also check out the video stream. We're up on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Got caught without an umbrella today. Another downpour. You would think I would have learned here from Sunday and from yesterday, and it was in the forecast, but then shame on me. And I show up looking like a wet skunk at a sales call today.
This is one area where I am jealous of you going home, of you going bald. Because if you do get caught in the rain and you're still sporting some hair, it can ruin your day. I just know this from the other day when I went out in the rainstorm on Sunday after I had just gotten out of the shower. I went back out for basically a second shower, and I'm like, oh, my God. I'm drenched, and if this was like me walking down the street or at work or what, miserable. I'd be miserable the rest of the day. Not you, Gino. You just take a towel.
Oh, everything's fine. Like
you
in a
even
couple
air
minutes.
dry.
Yeah,
air dry. Little air dry.
We're all good.
Get a little breeze as you're walking
Everything's good, but I have made that decision a few years ago, and not ready for an intervention yet, Danger.
Oh,
but
I'm not ready. No, it's not going to happen. No, I'm not doing that.
No, but I don't want you to be like a Spazzano with the reversing ankle there. I mean,
Spazzano's, for his age, Spazzano's a damn good-looking guy. I would be that. I would take that at his age. I would absolutely take that. I'm not going to complain about that. How much rain are we going to get, by the way? It feels like it hasn't stopped.
Mike Danger, welcome.
Hey.
Welcome to the sports bar. I'm so happy that you invited me on the show here.
Yeah.
Yes, very dangerous yesterday with the quarter, half-inch size hail. Did you see that in Victor?
Where can we watch more of your work, Count?
How do you not know by now? 13 VAM. Watch at 6 o'clock tonight.
13 what?
13 VAM.
VAM? 13 VAM?
WHAM.
Okay. Well, we got one of your colleagues joining us today.
Mike Catalana, 13 Wham. And at some point, I think Hetzko's probably going to say, okay, guys, cease and desist.
Yeah, what exactly did he do to deserve us?
How do we even get on that?
I have no idea.
I don't
you
even
just
know.
Pulled Hetzko out of the sky one day. And I like Hetzko. I've engaged with him a couple of different times. I know he's a Vikings fan.
I've never met the guy. I'd like to think I've met everybody in Rochester, but no, that's not the case.
I don't even hold it against him that he's a Vikings fan. But, I don't know. But we'll have his colleague, Mike Catalana, the Hall of Famer, by the way, going into the New York State Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame. The Icon joins us right around 3:25.
Yeah, as Bills rookies reporting. So if you're driving by Fisher and you're like, boy, that looks like camp because, well, this is closed to the public, but it's kind of beneficial to get the rookies in, get them acclimated, get them working here. So, again, we don't know what's going on exactly in those rookie practices, but get them learning, and then it all begins for everyone. Coming up next Wednesday, the 24th, as we will be out there, and certainly Mike Catalana, Buffalo Plus 13 Wham, will be one of the leaders here in the coverage. He will be joining us here to talk a little Buffalo Bills, and then, okay, the preemptive strike here. Oh, it's really cute, Metsy, that you have the third wild card. Go eat more ice cream and cotton candy, Gene, that you're all getting excited, okay? So that's off the table. It's off the table.
Just don't bring it up. If you bring it up, you're going to get what you get. Just don't bring it up. I would not bring it up. I wouldn't even bring it up.
You know, there was somebody else that we know that's a Phillies fan that were over at the Amerks offices today. And Moss Brooks is wearing a Phillies shirt. I'm just like, get that off. And he's like, no, this is our year. He's going down to Pittsburgh this weekend, he was telling me.
Okay.
And I'm just painting my dream scenario. My dream scenario being, like, after the Phillies did this a few years ago, the Mets in this expanded playoff, which I always hated, now will work to their benefit, and they'll get in the last wild card. They'll defeat Milwaukee, and then they will beat Philadelphia to advance to the NLCS.
Oh, this is sad.
It's not sad. It's plausible.
This is a sad, sad reality that you're living in right now. I mean, the next thing you know, somebody's going to ask you to sing a national anthem or something like that. You're wasted right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
She just entered rehab. She put out.
Yeah, I saw her statement, and I know that everybody wants to talk about it because it feels like that's all of America is talking about is, you know, somebody who butchered the anthem.
It was bad. Bad.
I didn't hear it, but far be it from me to think that an artist who is trying to make a name for herself won't do something to draw more attention to her name, her brand, even if it means going to, and I'm using air quotes here, rehab, and then releasing a statement saying that I hear rehab is fun. I'll let y'all know how it goes. I hear rehab is fun. Hey, how about you don't minimalize going to rehab? It's a place where sick people go. It's not really fun. And if you're lucky, you get out alive. It's not a
28-day vacation. Can we put that out there?
I hear it's fun. All I did was butcher the national anthem. Be thankful if you don't actually have a problem. And yeah, the whole thing is a little fishy to me. I don't like any of it.
Yeah, well, if she is going to rehab, we won't hear from her for a while.
If she's going to rehab and she truly needs rehab and she truly is sick, then I hope she's getting the help she deserves.
We are so cynical, Danger, and I thought that for a second. Like, okay, an artist I've never heard of, majority of Americans never heard of. Do I want to make a name for myself and use this opportunity to sing the anthem really bad and then make myself the victim afterward and saying I had this real problem? Look, that's a cynic in me that crosses my mind. I hope that's
okay.
Not
well, here's a harsh reality. Maybe I blow the lid off of part of the music industry, and this gets me in trouble. But when an artist cancels a show or a tour because of health issues or vocal issues, I'm using huge exaggerated air quotes, do you think that it's really that, or do you think it's, we're going to lose money if we continue with this tour or we go on with this show? Which one feels more plausible?
I would think it's the latter.
It's always about the money. If it wasn't, you wouldn't see a guy like Dave Grohl with one leg in a cast sitting in a throne performing live on stage. Because why? Because the Foo Fighters are making money at their shows.
Well, and maybe there was somebody else who was at this show. The group called Dukes of September, Danger. I know you weren't there, but that was Donald Fagen and Boz Scaggs and Michael McDonald.
Boz Scaggs, who famously sings a song called Leo Shuffle.
Lido Shuffle,
right.
since I've learned. This is going back some years at CMAC, but Mike McDonald didn't have a voice that night.
Uh-huh.
He's out there saying, like, we're all looking at each other like, what are we even doing here? Get off, like have like Fagan or somebody else do that. Oh, okay, they didn't cancel that concert.
Right.
They didn't give the money back.
There was money to be made.
Yeah.
If there's money to be made, the show will go on. If things aren't looking good, if you stand to lose hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, yeah, you can come up with a pretty significant ailment overnight. I mean, I'm on bed rest. I've got to get over this. My vocal cords are I'm not ready. I can't give you the show that y'all deserve. No, you're not selling tickets. That's the issue.
Well, I mean, baseball indirectly. I hate to say this, but home run derby last night where, yeah, and then.
No, it didn't do it for you.
No. Maybe it was because Alonso.
He just didn't look right.
Grandpa throwing the balls out there.
Alonso looked tired, man.
No, yes, but And this was the thing. When we get to this point next year, hey, who should we bet on for the home run derby? The answer is no one. Because, no, it's not the batter. Can somebody properly serve up the meatball? That is going to be there. And if the pitch isn't coming in at the perfect angle, at the perfect speed, and the pitcher isn't in rhythm, good luck hitting all those home runs.
I sat that one out. I think I said I know I didn't say Teoscar Hernandez.
No, you said Witt.
I said Witt.
Witt made the final.
And Witt made the final. But Hernandez first Dodger to win. I don't know if you heard that or not. First Dodger ever to win a home run derby. He was the 14th to try. So he gets the W last night, and I thought it was fun. Tonight is the real meat though of All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, and so Torey Lovello is the manager. Lovello is the manager of the National League, and because he was the manager of the Diamondbacks. He actually has his wife is from Buffalo, so remember that he was with Sean McDermott last season. But whatever. Simple question, like, Skeens, how long are you going to go tonight? His response, Danger, he would be surprised if he goes more than one inning because I've got 11 or 12 guys to work in. Since when did this become Little League, that everybody has to play? But that's the case here. Like, guys you don't care about are going to be out there in the seventh inning. This is all I'm asking. It's a simple ask. Because you have the leadoff batter, Quan from Cleveland, Gunnar Henderson, Juan Soto. Plausible? Possible. Somewhere in between. That scheme goes boop, boop, boop. 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
You mean to tell me you wouldn't bring out Paul Skeens to face Aaron Judge to begin the second? Because Judge is batting cleanup.
Yeah. I think the only way you say Skeens versus Judge is if somehow somebody hits a single off of Skeens and Judge finds his way up to the plate in the first inning.
See, that's wrong. Like, at least get him out there for the one thing. I don't care if Paul Skeens is throwing underhand with Judge. Just give us that matchup.
I'm okay with it. Honestly, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him doing one inning. I'm satiated with the fact that at least baseball got it right and started the kid instead of trying to figure out some other way. Or even worse, he just hasn't paid his dues yet. We need Paul Skeens to pay his dues because we don't want to showcase him on a grander stage and grow our sport, God forbid. I don't know. Does that sound familiar, like any other leagues out there that might be holding superstars back from a bigger stage because they haven't paid their dues? It's ridiculous. I'm happy that he's out there.
Well, look, Jeff Hoffman, Tanner Scott, Robert Suarez, Kyle Finnegan from Watch. These are the relief pitchers. You have all these other starting pitchers. Christopher Sanchez, Logan Webb. You're not getting excited there about any of those guys.
No. Yeah, I think they get a lot of eyeballs early and
click, click, click.
Yeah, and then you're out.
You're out.
I want to see what I want to see. And if I don't get the chance to see Paul Skeens in the second inning, that's fine. Let's see him to start. He's must-see TV. And for a lot of the country who haven't had a chance to see him, it'll be eye-opening. If he goes out there and he deals and it's 1, 2, 3, it'll be, if it's dominant, then you're like, yeah, kind of what we expected. That's how he's been all season.
Now, I got to take back what I said. I put the over-under way high. I'm going to let you do it. Over-under tonight on Paul Skeens' girlfriend. How many cutaways?
I'm saying if he's only out there an inning, I think I said 2. I'll go with 2.
Oh, I'm going over 2 then.
I'm going with 2. I think 2. Is there an athlete right now, a professional athlete right now, who's living a better life than Paul Skeens? 22 years old, starting the All-Star game as a rookie. He's going to get a massive contract. His next contract is going to break the bank, whatever it is.
He's going to put mustaches back in style.
And he's dating Olivia Dunn, who's a celebrity. He's kind of got it all right now. Is there an athlete right now living a better life than Paul Skeens? I don't know that there is.
By our standards, right. It's like,
yeah, I'm kind of jealous. The guy has it all right now. 22 years old. Ace of the Pirates. I guess.
All right. I have to say it, Danger. For the 30-year-old category, 33-year-old Travis Kelce.
You think Travis Kelce's living a better life?
Look, you can go anywhere in the world with.
Push back a little bit because he's got to spend the majority of his time with Taylor Swift. That's got to be terrible.
That's your opinion. A lot of people would say, if you put this to the poll, I would think.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, he sure looks like he's having a lot of fun.
How about our guy, Josh Allen?
Yeah, another one.
Yeah.
Hey, today, and it's funny, somebody threw this up on X earlier, and it literally happened a few seconds after Gino and I were just having the conversation. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday, this unnamed NFL executive that Jeremy Fowler is reporting, saying that Josh Allen is overrated. And we talked about it yesterday as, like, we brought up to Ryan Talbot. You heard it in the open there. It's like, come on, really? Are you serious? And that train has left the station. There's a lot of people chiming in saying that executive doesn't know what they're talking about. If anything, Josh Allen is underrated when you consider everything that he's done. We always like to try and figure out why reports get released and what the origin of that report is. What's it trying to accomplish? Where is it coming from? Consider the source. And this is an unnamed NFL executive.
Which I want to ask Catalan about this, like the do's and don'ts of the unnamed source, because obviously if somebody is whispering in Fowler's ear, what's their agenda?
Well, let me, and this is what the user on X put out there, and I said it to Gene before we got on the air. I'm like, hey, what if the unnamed executive is actually Brandon Beane? What if Brandon Beane said, hey, Jeremy, you release this, and you'll have a chip in the bank with me the next time we want to break some news. You'll be our guy. Just put it out there because I want him to play with a chip on his shoulder. I want to light a little fire under his ass.
I would think then that would break the code for any journalist. Because is it really the way the Bills feel about him, or is that we're using this as a motivational play? I thought that too. Like, wait a second, what if this actually came from Buffalo? And I think Fowler's too much of a pro to kind of see through that. I think it could just be as simple as, we talked to Thor Nystrom about this. Sometimes you go out to the hotel bar, you're seeing somebody, it's a different setting. What if it was just somebody over conversation, over drinks? Okay, I'm going to foul that away.
Or you can't let go of your biases from his college report, right? Like from his scouting report out of college. That a lot of what he had in college from time to time will show up as a pro. I mean, he's been fantastic. And it's hard for me to imagine that an NFL executive would look at that and be like, overrated. That I don't understand unless there's a motivating factor behind it. And I'm curious, too. I mean, like we mentioned it, Josh Allen might be having – Peter just put it to the poll on X, by the way. I mean, that's our official pollster there, Peter on X, asking who's living the better life today. Travis Kelce, Paul Skeens, Josh Allen. Josh Allen's living a pretty good life. But I also want to know, like, Josh Allen working with his new receivers outside of the OTAs, outside of organized team activities? Is he spending time with them? Is he throwing to them off-site? Is he doing little extra things that you hear the greats do all the time?
I don't know if he's wired like that. I'm being honest. He's certainly a phenomenal athlete. But then you read stories about Tom Brady and some of the things that he went through, and I'm sorry to bring up that name, but the ultimate competitors are just wired a little differently. And for Josh Allen, I'm going to say this. I think that he is wired a little bit that way, and that's why you see sad, mopey Josh after a game. Maybe if we can turn that into angry Josh, that he is so invested into this team. But I would like to see him putting in a little bit more work. Maybe we observe that at training camp. Maybe we see a different Josh. To me, that is one of the storylines I don't think we put enough into. What's Josh Allen doing to develop his game and making sure that he becomes the leader of this team once and for all?
Well, the rookies have reported. The Bills are amongst 8 NFL teams with rookies reporting today. Rookies for the Bears, Chiefs, Chargers, Dolphins, Saints, Giants, and Niners all reporting today, rookies from all those teams, the other 23 teams start camp in the coming days. It was actually the Ravens who got the rookies into camp first. They got in on Saturday. Everybody back at training camp by July 24th. And I mentioned the Niners. They're in the headlines today because Brandon Ayuk has officially asked for a trade out of San Francisco after what he calls an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. He's entering his option year of his rookie deal. He's set to make $14.1 million this season. No, I don't think the Buffalo Bills will be in on Brandon Ayuk. I don't know that you have to, I don't know that you want to give up the draft capital you would have to give to San Francisco to get him, and then I don't know that you want to pay him what he's looking for. I don't know that Brandon Ayuk is a $30 million a year receiver.
No, that's the thing. Like, people are doing the math like, hey, we can fit him under the cap. No, because he wants a new contract, okay? So that's also part of this. That limited cap space the Bills have, you're using that in case of an emergency. Like, what if you have a defensive lineman go down? What if you have a corner go down? I don't know what's going to happen, but you might have to go shopping, whether that's in August or September, and these guys sometimes cost money. So maybe you make a trade at some point, but I would rather hold on to that, because is Ayuk going to be the difference right now between you missing the playoffs or making the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't think so.
The two teams most strongly linked to Ayuk would be Pittsburgh and Washington. If you're asking me, I think he stays with the Niners. This is like commonplace for the Niners. Guys hold out all the time. Guys want an extension, don't get it done. It happened recently with Deebo Samuel. Hell, it happened with their kicker. Robbie Gould went through this.
Yeah.
They eventually signed with the Niners. They get something done. Maybe he holds out a little bit. You get a little bit of camp drama, but I would anticipate that there isn't a team out there willing to give up the draft capital that the Niners are looking for. And on top of that, pay Brandon Ayuk what he's looking for. This is just the sad reality of Brandon Ayuk not realizing what his actual value is. Oh, we should mention also Brian Koziel is going to stop by the sports bar this afternoon.
Yeah, as it is the Open.
Yes.
The Open. Can't say British Open. I'm always envious of some of these tournaments. Danger, certainly Augusta National. I've got my name in the lottery. So that'll become an annual thing where I don't get the tickets here. But some of these courses, boy, I'd love to check that out. Never once did I have the desire like, oh, yeah, look at these people at the Scottish Open all frigid in the month of July here. So this is golf in the old world. Who does it's fun to kind of bet on, certainly, but the conditions don't sound very kind to the golfers coming up this week.
All right, we'll get into that and more next with Brian Koziel. He stops by the Sports Bar 425. 13 Wham Sports Director and Hall of Famer Mike Catalana joins us next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
You're listening to Rochester.
You know, I often wonder, Gino, if we continue to align ourselves with 13 Wham Sports Director and New York State Broadcasting Hall of Famer Mike Catalana, do you think someday within the next maybe, 24 to 48 months, you and I maybe get that call to go into the hall just like the icon has?
28, what, like how many years? Like
24 to 48 months.
No, 24 to 48 years, I think. Would be,
maybe more
24 years, yeah.
Congratulations, buddy. Mike, how are you?
All good, fellas. All good.
What is that? Because, like, when we see the NFL Hall of Fame, you see the guy, what was his name, David Baker, come out, and I don't even know if they still do that. But how do they let you know, Mike, that you're in the New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame?
I will say it was kind of cool because I was literally driving to work, and the phone rings, and I didn't recognize the number, but I picked up, and the guy told me it's the person from the New York State Broadcasters, and he said his name, and I mean I wasn't expecting a call for anything, and then he said what they say in those circumstances, which was kind of cool. Is like the guy says, his name is David Donovan. He says, "This is the best part of my job," and then he proceeds to say, "You've been elected to the New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame," which was pretty cool. I mean, but I'm like in the car driving. And then he explains and he starts, giving you some of the logistics. He's very complimentary, and the guy was super nice on the phone. And and for me, it's cool. You could get things, you can get awards, and it's nice. And I think most people would say that's not why you do the job. But this one was pretty nice. I mean, I've been in New York State broadcasting for close to 40 years between Binghamton and then obviously the majority of the time in Rochester. And the events in New York City, I mean, both my daughters are down there, so it'll be pretty cool when it comes about in October.
Love hearing it, Mike. Really happy for you. Congratulations again.
Thanks.
And because you have this long history of journalism and integrity, we thought you'd be a good person to ask about the quote that was circulating yesterday that Jeremy Fowler put out from an NFL executive that called Josh Allen overrated. Now, there's a school of thought, and whenever those quotes come out, we always kind of look at them sideways and say, all right, what's the purpose of that being released? Who's releasing it, and for what reason are you releasing it? And the thing that immediately popped into, and I don't want to speak for Gino, but I think both of our minds was, hey, what if it was Brandon Beane who put that out there just to let a little fire under Josh Allen's butt going into this season?
Oh, that would be interesting. It doesn't seem like a Beane move because we know his career is tied to Josh. I see what you're saying. That is funny. If it was a different guy, maybe I would think that way. I think there's plenty of fire for Josh, but that would be something. And I think the guy said, at least if I saw the quote today, was one of the most overrated players in the NFL. It's like that word overrated is an interesting one too, because you might think a player is overrated because, I don't know, the general consensus is he's, say like Josh. You might say, I think he's a little overrated. Maybe they'd have him closer to 8 or 9. I would tell you this. I don't know who the exec is, but I'm going to say there aren't many execs in the league who wouldn't have Josh in their top 3 of quarterbacks. So I don't know how much overrated you could be for whatever the reason is. But that would be interesting if it was Beane. Yeah, he's playing a little chess on Josh, figures, let's see if we can light a fire under him. So we'll have to ask Beane. He'll probably admit it if it was him, right?
Yeah, right. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I guess, Mike, help us out here. What are the do's and don'ts when it comes to using the unnamed source? Because, well, this takes on a whole different life. Whoever this executive actually put their name on it. So where do you kind of draw the line in terms of, all right, we're going to report this, or no, this is a little far-fetched. Somebody has an agenda here.
Well, okay. When you do an article like this, it's strictly opinion. So I get why, let's just say, it's, what's his name from the Jets, general manager, and he decides Joe Douglas, and he decides he feels this way about Josh Allen. It's funny. If anybody had a reason to say it, it might be Joe Douglas because the Jets defense usually plays well against Josh. But, if it does him no good to say it. And the guy doing the article wants the quotes, but he knows most people, why would you want that out there if you're a GM? You could also just lie to the person doing the report. So I would say in that case, you get much more interesting things if people don't put their name to it. Now, if it is something factual and it's unnamed, that makes it a little different only because, you say that person is saying to you, we were trading, an unnamed source within a team said, we look to trade player X, Y, or Z. And then you have to try to confirm it. So I get why sometimes people get upset about unnamed sources. The guys in college football always yell, unnamed sources. Hey, let's be honest, guys. That's how you get people to tell you things they would not tell you publicly. As long as you're confident as a reporter that it is factual. I could tell you one for me when we broke the story about the PGA a few years ago coming back to Oak Hill. I had unnamed sources. I was not going to sell those people out for any particular reason. And I don't believe they would want to tell me with their name attached.
That makes sense because that's a fact. Like, that's a story. That's a fact. This is opinion. This is, all right, I still wondering, what is the agenda? Who is actually whispering in the ear of Jeremy Fowler, hey, I can't tell you this, but he's overrated? Or is this just at the hotel bar over drinks? That quarterback's overrated.
Sometimes guys I do believe there's people that just want that out there. They just want it out there because they get tired of hearing, and this could be somebody who drafted the wrong guy or somebody, hey, Dave Gettleman type, right, who was there with the number 2 pick, and he ends up, taking Saquon instead of taking Josh Allen. You want to say he's overrated? Okay. I'm not saying it was Dave Gettleman. I'm saying a person who just wants to get that out there. But it could be. Again, I don't know who would have a motivation to really want to say that, but sometimes I think there's guys who just want their opinion out there, even if they don't want to tie their name to it. But hey, I got to tell you, speaking of that, have you guys watched the Hard Knocks with the Giants?
There have been bits and pieces crossing my feed that while it's interesting, I don't necessarily like how it portrays the players and the coaches and the GMs that have been showcased. Although I do find it interesting that it brings to light what a lot of us already knew, that these guys aren't just going up there to a press conference and winging it. They're prepared and they know what bullets are going to come their way and how they're going to dodge those bullets.
So I watched it and I knew Joe, not well, but when he was Joe Shane, when he was with the Bills, I got to tell you, honestly, I think he's the only one that looks bad in this whole thing. I'm stunned that there's quotes from him. You see him saying it, critical of his quarterback, critical of Saquon Barkley. He has no reason to be that way. Barkley was a player there. They're probably right for letting him walk, in terms of where the Giants are. But when you watch it, I'm kind of like, God, I can't believe he said those things on camera. And I would believe that if the NFL has any credibility with teams, if a GM said to them, I don't want that out there, I don't think it makes it on the show. I don't think you could get teams to agree to this without some ability to say, they caught that, I don't want it in there. I think the Jets said when they were in it, we don't want any players being released while it's on the show. So they didn't want to do that. So I found that to be very surprising. That Daboll comes out cool because that's Daboll. It's just the way he is, especially in the second episode. But I found that interesting that you have quotes out there, especially about Daniel Jones, who's your quarterback. At least for now he is. So that part was interesting to me.
I think it's interesting, Mike, because there will come a day, and we're already seeing this the coming season, where they're going to do an AFC North where they'll bounce around. And these are teams that all made the postseason, with the exception last year of Cincinnati, but they're a contender. And if you bring this back to Buffalo, I don't think Sean McDermott would welcome this at all. You go back to previous regimes where there were a lot of loose lips, and at least one thing I can compliment about the Bills, they keep things pretty tight, where I think fans would love having that sort of access. I can't imagine. The Bills, I would see them actually fighting something like this tooth and nail.
Oh, I don't think they would want it. But I think I honestly think the Bills organization would probably handle it pretty well, because I don't think there is a lot of that. And I think there are, there's some coaches who might want to talk a little bit more and all, but I think honestly, I think Sean would be Sean in it, and Brandon would be Brandon. And Brandon's a very good talker to tell you nothing, right? Or tell you just enough to give you a feeling like he told you something, but he doesn't really tell you anything. So it's kind of interesting. Some guys play up to the camera a little bit. I don't think that would be the case with the Bills. But then again, you never know what happens when those cameras are rolling in another place and something ends up on the air. So while we all want it, and I love when they do something and you get that feeling you're inside, I'm just surprised that teams say almost anything, because everything becomes a bigger deal when it's made public.
Mike, we were having a conversation before you joined us about which professional athlete might be living their best life right now. I think we all kind of come to the consensus that Paul Skeens may be that guy, but Josh Allen is definitely on the list because it feels like all summer long we've seen Josh living his best life. And my question is, have we heard any reports or seen or heard of Josh doing anything extra outside of OTAs with his new receiving core? Any workouts, any planned workouts? Would we hear about that because I feel like we would hear about it if it happened, but has it happened? Do we know if it's happened? Is there anything secret here before camp that would lead us to believe that Josh did maybe a little bit more than just live his best life this summer?
Well, there was one quick video from KJ Hamler. By the way, and I said it on our podcast, I'm not a good photographer, but KJ Hamler is worse than me. And it showed a bunch of the players around, and I believe Josh was there, and it looked like it was in Nashville. So I don't know if it was just the day they went out and, threw some passes. It certainly gave the impression that there was something that they did. I think that was when Dawson Knox's wedding was going on, so it might have been tied to that somehow. I kind of like that stuff, and I don't even think of it like it's more a little bit of bonding. And I've always been an advocate for that with a quarterback because, now the dynamic in that room, hey, listen, when you had Diggs there and before that, Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley, you had some personalities. You had some guys that have been around as Josh was growing. The separation between quarterback and his players is pretty severe now, right? You got a bunch of guys who've been in whatever form they've been in around the league. You got rookies. You got guys like Curtis Samuel who've never had the quarterback. It's Josh and a bunch of guys who are trying to find their way. And so I think him connecting with those players, and listen, he shows up at every OTA, whether they're voluntary or mandatory, he's at everything. He's out there with the players, and I think he's a great teammate. But I don't know if that was just a one-day thing or an afternoon thing or 20 minutes. All I saw was that one video. But I like seeing things like that, and I think he's a pretty open teammate that way. But I think this year would be a good one, and that's why I think camp is good. He loves camp. Josh really loves being at camp. So I think that part is good because he's connected with the whole roster. But I think to your point, being a little extra connection with these wide receivers would be a good thing heading into the season.
Yeah, rookie's already in town, but fans and the rest of the media, everybody cannot go until next Wednesday. Mike, as we're kind of projecting ahead here, what do you think? We can, kind of guess together, but what do you project as being some of the bigger storylines as camp opening? Certainly, Keon Coleman and Cole Bishop and some of the rookies we'll be looking at. But what will you be paying attention to come next Wednesday?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that wide receiver is going to be big. How does this group look? How do these players look? Which players elevate themselves where you're not questioning at all where they are in the pecking order? How do they look? And I think that's going to be a daily thing. Because those roles were pretty defined up to this year. You kind of knew what they were, and now it's not. So while I expect certain things out of a guy like Curtis Samuel, and you kind of know maybe who MVS has been, hey, look, it's a big opportunity for a guy like that, right? And you just don't know. So I think that, first and foremost is going to be big. And then honestly, I'm looking at some of the stuff on the D line. Like, I still look at Von Miller as obviously he did nothing last year. And then I look at him and say, are they planning on him jumping back in and being a, quote, starter on the defense? Or do they think of him more as a pass rusher? And they want to get the most out of what is left of Von Miller, and maybe that's the way to do it. And maybe they rely more on A.J. Epinesa. I think it'll be interesting to see how they play out in the D-line. I think those, to me, are some of the most interesting, and seeing how healthy Milano is, too. Because Milano and Bernard together, when we look at last year, was all Milano. We didn't even know who was going to play in the middle. And then Bernard was fantastic. So if Milano is healthy next to Bernard, that's one of, if not the best, multiple skilled linebacking duos that there is in the NFL.
I feel like we heard a steady drumbeat through the offseason that Kaiir Elam looks like a different player, and you had the chance to take in some of these OTAs and some of these sessions that the team held through the course of the offseason. Mike, what's Kaiir Elam's role going to be here as we head into camp? What do you project for the corner who, let's face it, last year was a massive disappointment?
Yeah, he was. And listen, John Butler, as a coach, did not like Elam. I don't think there was any question. He just didn't work. And the Bills had drafted him high. And there was a thought that maybe, they would just move on from him. He has physical ability. Made a couple plays on the field, but even the one he made at home in the playoff game, he had gotten burned and had a penalty right before that. I mean, he wasn't great. He played without confidence to me, and they didn't have confidence in him. He just looked different. Now, listen, it's OTAs, it's practices, it's different, but he did look a little freer, a little happier, went to a single-digit number, which is, I always find those a little interesting because, it's a little bit of a change, changed mindset. Listen, if he is a guy that can be, and I think he's behind Douglas and Benford, if he can be that guy that can play for you, even if he's not a starter or can step in when you need him to be, I think that would be huge for them. I mean, you've already you committed the asset to him. I mean, getting rid of him for nothing, unless he can't play. Now, listen, he's going to have to show something, but I do think his mindset is different. And same organization, it's almost like getting traded for him, because I do think the coaches, Bobby Babich, everybody, I think, is looking at him with maybe different eyes this year than what he put himself in, and the way I think John Butler looked at him at that position.
Certainly, Dan Fates would say running the football is not the way to win games, but you need a good running tandem. And my question here, Mike, is about Ray Davis, because when the Bills drafted James Cook didn't have a lot of mileage on him, and they kind of brought him along. Davis is the opposite, and at least on paper, you would think that's a potential upgrade over Latavius Murray. I guess the question is, as we're looking at camp, how do you think this? It has a whiff of fantasy, but honestly, I think it's a bigger question here. Like, could Davis actually challenge for more time as a rookie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I think they really like James Cook. They like his skill set. He's got to hold on to the football. He's got to catch the football, right? And this team, if you look at their history with Brandon Beane, honestly, I think the amount of resources he's put into drafting running backs is substantial. And they've gotten good players. Like Devin Singletary was a good player. Not great, but good. But they kept drafting. They kept trying to find somebody. Now you have James Cook who, hey, listen, I mean, he does show flashes, but they have very little tolerance for a guy who's going to put the ball on the floor or on the turf or not catch a pass. And he's done that for them, and some fans would be like, why is he the one getting benched? Because they just aren't going to put up with that. So I think there's some pressure on Cook. And, I think Davis can be, like he's a running back and he's an older player and he's been on the field. I think I think he has every opportunity. And to your point, I think this team will run the ball more than they have in the past. I think that they certainly were trending in that direction. And, now with the makeup of the wide receiver room and the way I think they want to play, I think that absolutely could happen. So, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I think he has a legitimate shot to get carries. And, hey, and you know the way it works in this league. He'll play the hot player. And I don't think they'd have any issue putting him on the field if they felt confident. And James Cook's just going to be, start out. Obviously, he's number one, but he's going to have to keep that spot.
Mike, we're looking forward to a week from Wednesday. We all get together again. We all hang out at St. John Fisher, Bill's training camp. The boys back in town, and we don't need to talk about anything going on in Major League Baseball.
Hold on, let me go grab my ice cream and cotton candy as I'm the kid at the circus that's too excited. I'm taking all the insults off the table for Mike here.
Oh boy. Okay,
so Mike, can we not enjoy as Met fans? There they are. Here we are. Hi, we're in the last wild card. Meet the Mets. You know what's going to happen, Gene. They're going to fall apart come August. See,
First of all, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stop here for a second. First of all, I don't speak like that. Okay? And neither does Dan. Here's what we're telling you. You guys are just good enough to have your souls crushed, because you can say what you want when they're doing their little high school musical thing out there on the field. You eat it up with the grimace and all this stuff. You just love all that stuff, and you talk amongst your little Mets buddies about this team. They could be dangerous. All they got to do is get in, right? This is what you say when you have those little Mets meetings.
Said it earlier today on the show. We have
Met
roll
meeting.
the tape. Yeah.
All right.
New format, new playoff format. They could upset the Phillies in the postseason, Mike.
Oh, of course they could. Yeah, I mean, they are, they're that team, and it's kind of, I can't believe they haven't signed Tommy Cutlets yet. What is it with New York sports? Last year with the Giants, with Tommy Cutlets, it's a legitimate NFL player, and now you got the Mets doing post game teeny bopper concerts with one of the players.
I would just say it's a happier existence. Let's take your guy, Fates, every time on social media. Oh, this team, they can't bat, talking about the Braves. Atlanta's in the first wild card. Atlanta's going to be in the postseason. Bigger picture. We're having fun, Mike. You can't rain on my parade, my friend.
No, it's so good, though, because August is coming, and then September. And then we know what's going to happen. I mean, you know what's going to happen. And you're going to go look like Pete Alonso in the home run derby last night. Big expectations, and then just, and then he just fell apart. What do you have, 3? And then sign him. You guys are going to sign him to some massive contract, and it'll be so much fun. But, yeah. Yeah, and it's cute. Your stories are cute. You're it's like single A baseball kind of stuff. It's cute. Oh, he's going to sing at the end of the game. It's fine.
It's just, I think my favorite is just good enough to have your souls crushed.
That's why you took it away from us last year, because you quit.
Yeah.
You quit. And that's not what we want out of the Mets. We want hope. We want you to just look over that edge with a big smile on your face, and then just watch you fall backwards into the abyss.
No, I don't.
So good.
I don't need the Mets to make the World Series, to make this a successful season. If the Mets can get in and knock off one of you two, and I'm talking about Atlanta. What do you mean, oh, my God? This is the format. Did you not see what Arizona did last year?
Gotta help me.
So let me ask you this. The Phillies got, and they made the World Series.
Right.
Why wouldn't that be your goal? Why?
My
Once you get in the
happiness.
playoffs, your goal is to get to the World Series and win the World Series.
No, his goal is to beat the Braves or the Phillies. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
It could be, those teams could very well be standing in your way. And you can listen. You can have the post-game concert set up, and he can go out and sing, and It's
Grimace and the Hamburglar up on the field.
Oh, my
Big a
God.
parade of characters.
Like, geez, like Dan Mason is going, my God, these guys have some ideas. I'm going to use them for AAA.
Mike, we'll see you next week at Fisher. Congratulations again on the Hall of Fame honor. Thanks for giving us your time as always, bud. Catch up soon.
Anytime, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Mike.
There he is, the Hall of Famer, 13 Web Sports Director Mike Catalana, stopping by the sports bar, talking some Buffalo Bills, and as expected, Gene, I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to go there.
No, it happens at the end of every conversation. Every conversation.
Could have just ended it on a high note. We're going to see each other again next week in person. We're all going to be at Fisher together. It's going to be a great time. Thanks for the time. We don't have to talk about the home run derby last night or the All-Star game tonight or anything having to do with Major League Baseball. Just keep it football.
Keep it football focused.
It went there. It went there.
And if you think that's like a Catalana exclusive thing, I can't help myself. Like,
I know.
One of the few times I've talked to Brandon Beane just off, like, and Danger was right there. I'm like,
he's a Braves guy.
Yeah, like, whoa. The Mets have just taken out the Braves.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
I know. You need to stop.
I couldn't help myself.
You need to stop.
Just stop.
You need to stop. That was fun. Appreciate Mike giving us some time. We're going to be joined next hour by Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green, and we'll get a preview of this weekend's The Open.
It's the final manager.
Mm-hmm. That's on the way, as well as your calls at 866-4326. I know you're gonna turn the tables on me. You're gonna needle me a little bit, aren't you?
Well, couple things. First of all, before we do that, we have breaking news, which we'll give in the sports bar. Roma Dunze and Caleb Williams have signed.
Oh, Caleb did sign.
Caleb just signed. That just came across. We also have tickets today to give away.
Yeah, let's give away these tickets to see Train at Art Park. If you'd like to see maybe we can get Train to be the unofficial vocalist of the national anthem in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We have Pat Monahan to do it. Train's coming to Art Park. We have a pair of tickets for you right now. If you're caller 5 at 866-4FAN, 866-4326, free tickets to see Train at Art Park, courtesy of Live Nation, here in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
Trust Caledonia Diesel's new and used parts department for all your heavy-duty truck and construction equipment needs. They offer the best prices directly from the manufacturers and have one of Western New York's largest parts inventory. Caledonia Diesel for new and used parts. Call today.
4! That's how many times Eagle Vale Golf Course has been voted Rochester's best. Whether it's for golf, dining, business, or pleasure, Eagle Vale is for you. Visit them today at eaglevale.com or call 377-5200.
Need a new roof? Call Exceptional Exteriors, a locally owned family business for over 15 years. Exceptional Exteriors stands by their work with hundreds of 5-star reviews and now offers 0% financing. Need a new roof? Visit ExceptionalExteriorsInc.com. Join Mark Patrick Seminars. Lose the weight, stop smoking. Early bird special $49.99. Seminars Sunday, July 28th, Hilton Garden Inn, Pittsford. Weight loss 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Or Monday, July 29th, RIT Inn and Conference Center, Henrietta. Weight loss 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m.
Hi, I'm John Simonian, president of the Source Fine Jewelers. Getting engaged? Then let's talk lab-grown diamonds, which are ethically sourced and have the same brilliance and sparkle as natural diamonds, but at a fraction of the cost. From classic solitaires to fully customized engagement rings, we have something for every style and budget. Come see Rochester's largest selection of in-stock lab-grown diamonds at the Source Fine Jewelers in Greece, Pittsford, Eastview Mall, or thesourcejewelers.com.
Are you a college student interested in pursuing a career in broadcasting and digital media? Odyssey, the owner of this radio station, is looking for interns who'll be responsible for audio and video production and editing, content development, social media engagement, and so much more. If you're a current college student who is passionate about content creation, you already have a leg up on the competition. If you're tech-savvy, detail-oriented, love pop culture, and the Finger Lakes region, this might just be your dream internship. To apply, visit odysseyinc.com/careers and search Rochester. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer. employer.
Let the good times roll at the Steel Rail Revival, brought to you by the Ide family of dealerships. Join us Sunday, July 21st at 11 a.m. for a musical journey through Fairport. With over 80 acts on 11 stages, there's something for everyone. Plus, enjoy...
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
It's the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Paul Skeens going against Corbin Burns, 8 o'clock for the coverage tonight. Chris Brown has the interim tag taken off. Brownie, the official play-by-play announcer for the Buffalo Bills football broadcast moving forward, he takes over for John Murphy. Bills rookies reporting today to St. John Fisher University. First practice in full will be coming up on Wednesday the 24th. Around the league today, the Bears signing both of their first-round picks. Caleb Williams, the quarterback, along with wide receiver Rome Odunze. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Today, get half off to Lasertron in Henrietta. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
No, that's not fair, and I'm guessing that executive will be looking for work sooner rather than later if that's his analysis of Josh Allen. To call him one of the more overrated quarterbacks is asinine, in my opinion.
Mike Danger.
It's a celebration. We're gonna celebrate, pal. Happy football. It's here.
Football! Football, yes!
Gene Battaglia.
Josh Allen, good that he's relaxing, having some fun at Tahoe, shooting baskets. I don't know if you saw that, but what can Josh Allen actually do to be better this year to get to the Buffalo Bills where they need to be?
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We'll go across the pond and discuss the Open. Brian Koziel, Tina Green, going to stop by here in less than 20 minutes. We appreciate your calls at 866-4326. That's 585-866-4FAN. Remember, we sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app or on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And if you're watching along in the video stream right now, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch. We appreciate that as well.
I was listening to Rome, and Rome still has it today. And Jim Rome talking about the situation in Chicago, how, wait a second, not only is Rome Odunze not signed, Caleb Williams isn't signed. And wait, Caleb Williams, he has somebody he's working with, but that person isn't representing him. And it was a lot of convoluted, and camp is opening up. Bears fans are everywhere. And the way Romy laid it out, I'm like, whoa, Danger. And I come in, I'm like, Danger, what do you think about this? No worries, everything's going to be fine. You're going to work me up. Sure enough.
Everything's fine.
Both guys signed.
Now, I don't know who represents Rome Odunze, but I know that Caleb Williams, that was the big story, right? Like, he doesn't have NFLPA-approved representation, so the team can only negotiate with Caleb Williams. And it's like, according to the reports, I guess Caleb Williams had his lawyers, he's got lawyers, had his lawyers look at his contract and signed the deal.
Well, that's always the confusing part is, why don't more players actually kind of use this loophole, right?
It's a great question.
Yeah, because you're not. What are you negotiating? This is what you're due to make.
It's your rookie deal is fairly standard across the board, right? So you're right. What is exactly the thing, the pitfall that you're worried about here? I mean, if you don't perform, they can move on from you. That's all the contract does is protect. It doesn't protect the player. It protects the team.
No, the only and since, and I say new CBA, it's not new. It's been here since 2011. But way back when, this was always a knockdown, drag 'em out. It would be a story. Oh gosh, we got our first round pick signed before camp. This is awesome. Quite often, you were conditioned to having these holdouts going to camp, and finally, the owners are like, "No, we're done with this." And that was an easy thing they could give for the concession of the players. Like, hey, do you want the money going to the guys in their second contract, or do you want Sam Bradford getting handed $100 million? And that was the last really rookie that got it handed that much money. The only guy I can recall actually holding out was, which of the Bosas was it?
It was Joey Bosa.
It was a Joey Bosa from the Chargers, and it was something over the timing of a bonus payment.
Right.
Can you imagine that? You're going to get the money. Hey, I want it in October. No, we're going to give it in November. Holding out.
Offset language, whatever it is that makes a rookie say, yeah, I'm not ready to sign that yet. But it is the first day for the Bears and for the Bills and for, what are we saying here? Maybe 6 other teams. I think a total of 8 teams, 9 teams total today that have their rookies reporting to camp. So if Roma Dunze and Caleb Williams are showing up to Hallis Hall today to sign their deal and to start the process of being a professional NFL player.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, hey, let me just go over to Fisher's campus. Sorry, we're rookie camp going on. McDermott, Bean, they're all here already.
Yeah. It's here. It's almost here.
Yeah.
We'll be there starting a week from tomorrow. Live shows, interviews with players, Brandon Bean, hopefully. I mean, we don't want to break the streak. We've talked to Bean, I think, every year.
Every year, yeah.
Camp, so that will be a lot of fun. Looking forward to our annual conversation with the Bills GM, and that'll be, again, starting a week from tomorrow, live from St. John Fisher University. Don't hit me. And those are the famous,
what me to you? I'm not going to hit you.
Famous last words made by a United flight attendant. Gino, I don't know if you saw this story.
I did, and was happening right as we were getting off the air, and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. It just seemed a little too, all right, so now we have more info on this?
Yes, we have some color. Terrell Davis was attempted to, they attempted to arrest him after a recent flight. He was with his family.
Terrell Davis, former Bronco running back. Yeah.
Yes, Hall of Famer. And he said he tapped a flight attendant's arm to try and get his attention. The flight attendant accused Davis of hitting him. And when the plane landed, law enforcement got on board. So the flight attendant made a big deal out of this and made sure that when we landed, this guy was going to be taken care of. Now, again, Davis traveling with his wife and 3 kids, traveling with his family, and I think he was just trying to get some ice cubes or some ice from the flight attendant who said, "Don't hit me." And as soon as he gets off the plane, he's in handcuffs, and they removed him from the flight because of the flight attendant's accusation. Now, United has since apologized. The flight attendant is now no longer with United. I kind of like this story, Gino. In hockey, embellishment is a 2-minute minor, and I'm happy to see that it can result in a penalty in real life as well.
Wow. So they've already determined that this flight attendant was a little too eager to be jumpy there.
Soft.
Would you consider it rude, though, tapping some? I have seen this. People do this to servers. Don't do that. Like tapping somebody on the shoulder. Like, excuse me. It's not. It can be rude, but it's not a crime.
It wasn't a shove.
No.
It wasn't a forearm shiver. It wasn't a clothesline across the neck. I imagine it was a tap on the shoulder or a tap on the arm that probably triggered the flight attendant because it was coming from a former NFL player.
Well, where were the other 2 attendants? Like, shouldn't they have been talking down the one? You're making this is going to end really, really bad for you if we have to land this plane. And
yeah, I just think, I like that the flight attendant is getting a 2-minute minor on this one.
Embellishment.
Yeah. You take a little bit of a dive.
Can we get embellishment in soccer?
The Euros and the
embellishment.
The Copa ended this weekend. No more embellishing.
No more. 2 of her favorites getting married this October, Monica and Joey. We wish them well. Saw them both last night.
This is Joey Kipchoge.
Joey Kipchoge.
Yeah.
Who, listen, he was our guy. Like for the Paris Olympics, was in the U.S. trial down in Orlando back in February. Very difficult to make, but they're going to begin their life together. It's time for the Bachelor and Bachelorette party. The Bachelorette party of Monica actually has a theme. A Bills-related theme. Single life to mafia wife. Monica and her bridesmaids are heading to Austin, Texas, where they will be wearing Buffalo Bills jerseys and hitting the town.
Nice.
The destination bachelor party, destination bachelorette party. Like, hold on, time out. When did this become the thing?
It's always been a thing.
Really? Destination? I mean,
destination bachelor parties, I feel like, have been a thing forever. So if the destination bachelor party is a thing, then why not a bachelorette party as well?
Because I would think that you would want more people at, just invite everybody. It's like a big party. Like the day, I don't know what you had. Basically, it was like, okay, yeah, let's have dinner, and we're going to go to the bar, and then we're going to go over to the tally ho and call it a night.
That was your bachelor party?
It was actually... Tally ho didn't exist at that point. It was Canada at that point.
Oh, you went north of the border.
Right.
You went to the ballet. Mine was a booze cruise. We
Really?
we rented a boat on Canandaigua Lake, and we just went out on the lake. We drank beers, we played cards, we smoked cigars, we went back to the sandbar, and we drank our faces off. And I got poured into a car and driven home, I believe, by my bride-to-be. I believe Sandy was the one who actually met up and made sure, yeah, you're getting home in one piece. And it was great. It was a great time. We had a blast. I'm sorry I don't have any more like salacious details to share. That's really what
what it was.
And
yeah.
with her, I think it was just her and a handful of her friends just going out and having fun. But I have friends who've done destination bachelor parties in Puerto Rico. Invited I was a groomsman in a wedding. He's like, "Hey, we're all going to Puerto Rico. Are you in?" And I bowed out of that one. I feel kind of bad that I did that. But, I'm still in the wedding. I'm still, one of the groomsmen.
Well, Monica kind of breaking because if you had to say the Bachelorette, it's Nashville, right? That's kind of where everybody heads to.
Yeah,
Austin. That would seem like it's a fun
I like
town,
that.
though. Yeah,
I like that better. In fact, I think Monica is right on here because I think Nashville is tired, and I think Austin is wired. I think that's where you want to go. If you're doing a bachelorette party and you don't want, because now Nashville, it's all it is. If you walk around Nashville now, just nothing but bachelorette parties and just people, drunk tourists everywhere. And I'm sure it's a blast, but nah.
Nope.
Austin feels like the move.
Okay, tired and wired. Are we tired of Vegas for a bachelor party? Because that's not where Joey's going.
Where's he going?
He's going to go whitewater rafting just outside of Montreal.
Pretty cool.
And then staying in Old Town Montreal.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. That's outdoorsy. That's an adventure.
That's him, yeah.
That's, you can still, bring your own and party up a little bit. I'm fine with that. I'd also be fine with anybody that says, yeah, I want to go to Vegas. That's where I want to. Good. Go. Have fun, man. Like, you if you do it right, you never have to do it again. And you might as well live it up. You're preparing for what should be the best day of your life. It's the day that allows you to do all the other things that you get to experience when you have a family, with whether you have kids or what, it's just, I still say it all the time. The wedding day was the best day of my life, hands down. Celebrating with friends and family, the people that are closest to you, and there's nothing negative about it. It is the best day of your life. So why not lead into that by doing whatever you want? Go have a good time.
I would imagine, of course, we didn't know one another, but I picture your wedding just being radio Goombas everywhere.
It was a combination of, okay, so I'll take me back a little bit here. Blue Heron Hills.
Okay.
And we had a DJ, and you had some radio people, some coworkers. You had some music industry people, a handful. You had some of Sandy's family, Italian. You had some of my family, Spanish. And when I say Spanish, I mean like Spanish can't speak English.
Spanish from Spain. Yeah.
They were dubbed the Spanish Mafia while they were at the wedding. Oh, here comes the Spanish Mafia. Really, it's just my aunts. It was my mom and all of her sisters, and all of them you couldn't take the smile off their face. The smiles, they were just smiling all day, which again, makes me happy.
Did you still have your father at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both my mom and dad, the Spanish Mafia, my cousin who, if I sounded a little bit short about the rehab conversation last hour when we were talking about the national anthem singer.
Yeah, I made a joke about it, yeah.
I have a cousin who died at the age of 24 to addiction and was in and out of rehab, for a good part of his young adult life and his teenage years as well. And he was at the wedding. He was there, and we lost him shortly after he was at our wedding. So I know how tough that can be. And the last thing I like is somebody saying, "Oh, well, I hear rehab is fun." Nah, it's not fun. Regardless, that was the wedding. The wedding was, you had Italian, you had Spain, and then you had a bunch of misfits from the music industry and the radio industry, all intermingling together, and it was great. It was, like I say, best day of my life. My friends from Minnesota who made the trip made the most of their trip. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for admitting this. Mm-hmm. They admitted it to me only years after the fact. because for a good chunk of the reception, I'm like, God, where'd everybody go? Like, I know we're at a golf course and it's spacious and there's a lot going on, but where is everybody? Like, a handful of my Minnesota friends that made the trip just kind of vanished into thin air. They went out on the golf course, found secret places, private places. They got it on. I'm like, they admitted it to me. Like, yeah, your wedding was great. We got it on the whatever the 17th hole or the 17th green. And I'm like,
wow, that's outstanding.
Well, I don't know if that's getting me in trouble with Blue Heron Hills, but
no, it's changed ownership a bunch of times, so you're good on that.
They're none the wiser. But yeah, a good time was had by all. And, man, nothing but the best for our pals, regulars in the sports bar, talking about Monica and her fiancé, Joey. We dubbed Joey Kipchoge. Unbelievable couple. They're just so damn adorable, man. Every time we see them, and you get to see them more often than I do, I marvel. I'm like, oh, they're great. Those two are awesome. They're going to be great together. Good times. One place where you can't get it on the green, I'm fairly certain, is the Open. I don't think officials there.
Wow. Like Brian Koziel, he's been to so many of these events. We never asked him, has he been to the Open? Is this actually one he would like to go see?
Or bucket list?
I just look at the weather there, and it's like, nah, windy, cold. No, not for me.
We'll talk to Brian next and get his thoughts on this weekend's final major of the PGA Tour. Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green, stopping by the sports bar. You can pull up a stool at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Tonight, it's the Major League Baseball All-Star Game from Arlington, Texas. Paul Skeens, the Pirates, going against Corbin Burns of the Orioles. Chris Brown has the interim tag taken off. He's the play-by-play announcer officially for the Buffalo Bills. Brown taking over for John Murphy. Bills rookies reporting today to St. John Fisher University. The first full team practice coming up Wednesday, the 24th. Chicago Bears signing both of their first-round picks, Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. San Francisco wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today you can save half off to Lasertron in Henrietta. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Golf goes across the pond this weekend. The Open Championship, Royal Troon Golf Club. We check in with our favorite Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green. You can hear him on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR. Whenever we talk golf, we bring in Brian. And Brian, I always feel like the conditions are the thing that we talk about first when we're talking about the Open Championship. What are we hearing about this weekend?
I think it's going to be okay. The weather, we know, at the Open is always a story, which is fun to talk about. And I think, I guess selfishly, when I'm watching the tournament on TV, I feel like I want at least one day of where the wind is whipping and the rain's going sideways and we get a little of the umbrellas and the rain gear and all that out. Because I feel like, that's one of the unique pieces of this event. Not that it can't rain or be windy elsewhere, but it just looks great on TV for me. So, just looking at it earlier from today, it looks like temps are going to be hovering around the low 60s. So in terms of it, it's not going to be frigid, but there are a chance of rain showers each day. So we could have some of that going through there. But as of this moment, nothing that I've read have seen that it looks like there's going to be any sort of hurricane or rain that could possibly stop play as of this point. So maybe just kind of the normal weather that you get in Scotland over this time of the year in July.
Yeah, it's a rotation, as we know, for the most part, for the Open. And this year's turn, Royal Troon, 10th time Royal Troon has hosted. So, Brian, what can you share with us about this course?
Well, yes, it's amongst the group that rotates around. The last time it was here at Troon was 2016, and it was a memorable one. It was where we saw the epic two-man battle in the final day with Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson. And the conditions that day were gorgeous. And both players, ironically enough, shot matching 63s, and Stenson ended up holding on to beat Mickelson in what was probably one of the more epic kind of one-on-one two-man battles that we've had in recent memories at a major. I know we were just talking at the U.S. Open about it coming down to Rory and Bryson, that we haven't had really like that epic one-on-one, almost turning into match play sort of thing. We haven't had that in a long time in a major. Probably the best one that we've had at the Open Championship in recent memory was the last time that it was at Troon. In terms of its difficulty level, I would say this one maybe ranks kind of in the middle. It's not Carnoustie, where, if you ask golfers, like, of the courses in the rotation, which one's the toughest, I would think 9 out of 10 of the pros are going to say Carnoustie. And it's not maybe the easiest. Like St. Andrews is usually going to be the one. We know that's where all the history is, but that one is where scoring, can be really, really low if the conditions are around. So this one's kind of in the middle. Being in Scotland too, I think, you're going to get great support as you would anywhere else. But I think this one probably in terms of the difficulty level, somewhere probably in the middle of what we see on that RNA rotation for this event.
And no surprise that Scotty Scheffler is the favorite going in. He's been remarkable this year. Really, really an unbelievable run that he's been on this season. Do you like Scheffler's chances here at picking up this major here at Royal Troon?
Yeah, I guess I would be an idiot to say that I don't, right? He's won almost every time he's played in a big event this year. Think about this. If there is no
crazy incident with him getting arrested at Valhalla, he could be going for his third major this week, beyond the fact that he's won the Players' Championship, beyond the fact that he's won 3 other outstanding elevated fields event. His last start with the Travelers' Championship win. So he hasn't played competitively in 3 weeks, going into this week, almost 4 by the time it gets going. So is that maybe the only thing, if you said, hey, give me a reason for Scheffler to maybe have a bump in the road this week and not have a chance to win? I guess I'm grasping at straws. I'll go ahead and say the fact that he hasn't played in a competitive tournament in 3.5 weeks. That's the only thing. And again, I'm grasping for it here. Scheffler has had a dominating season, one of the best that we've seen since the heyday of Tiger Woods. So to think that he can't be involved in this tournament in terms of chance of winning, I think that would be silly for me not to say.
Yeah, we're talking to Brian Koziel, your host of Tee to Green. We'll ask him about the Sabres, but we still have more golf questions here. And Brian, every time we've had you on over the years, ultimately it goes to the Tiger question. And first of all, let me read the quote from Colin Montgomery, and then I don't think at least you tell me the reaction here from Tiger Woods. We'll play the quote from Tiger today, where Colin Montgomery basically said, hey, what the hell is he doing? It's time to retire. Aren't we there? I thought we were past there. This is Colin Montgomery telling the Times of London there is a time for all sportsmen to say goodbye, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's his opinion. This was Tiger Woods when asked about that today.
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do. So when I get to be at his age, I can still make that decision when he doesn't.
But Brian, I love that reaction. That might be the most personality we've ever seen out of a Tiger at the podium.
I love it, and he's right on. And Tiger has done so much for golf that guess what? When he gets to 60, if he wants to play, guess who's going to give him an exemption? The R&A. He's got one for life on the PGA Tour with elevated events. We know that the Players Board voted on that a few weeks ago. Yeah, he's in for life for Augusta National. My guess is if the USGA and the PGA of America, if they get any sort of sense that Tiger Woods would like to play in their event and his exemption status has run out on paper, I'm guessing that someone will be on the phone within seconds to invite him to play. Look at Tiger is, we know, one of the Mount Rushmore faces of golf, and in our lifetime, probably the most influential of anybody. I think it's easy to argue that he's the greatest player ever. I mean, I can go on and on and on about Tiger. I'm sure all of you could here. So why, for Colin Montgomery to say that? No, Colin Montgomery was a good player and had a very respectable professional career. I know that he's a paid commentator now. Like, part of his job is to commentate and analyze golf. I think for him to maybe say what he wanted to say, I would have worded it differently. I think it's fair to say, hey, Tiger's physical limitations right now just keep him from what we think realistically are giving him any sort of chances of winning. Like, I wonder, is he enjoying golf still? I wonder, does he come out here truly thinking hey, I'm enjoying this experience, I'm taking it in, all that sort of stuff? I think his point could have been made in a way where maybe it didn't come off the way it did. But for him to just flat out saying, what is he doing out here? I have no problem with how Tiger responded. In fact, I found it pretty funny for how he was ready to go, and I'm sure Tiger was probably prepared for that question, and his answer was perfect.
Brian, so help me out with this, because you just went on about Tiger, and I think most golf fans look at what he does and view him as the best, one of the best ever, if not the best ever, and we love the way he did it, and there were ups, there were certainly downs, but through it all, he's kind of persevered, and he's still out there, and he's still hacking away at it. I think what Scottie Scheffler is doing is remarkable. And I also think it's incredibly boring and not necessarily great for the sport. And I don't know that I'm the only one that thinks that way, Brian. So help me just try to figure out in my own head why I can't view what Scottie's doing the way I viewed what Tiger did, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, I think that's probably a fair question. I think immediately maybe the comparison goes to separating the season from Tiger's career. I don't think anybody, including yourself nor I, are we saying that by comparing the season of what Scottie Scheffler is doing that we think Scottie Scheffler is anywhere remotely close to the career and the accomplishments of what Tiger Woods has done. On paper, on the calendar, what has he done so far? Is it comparable to what Tiger did in the early 2000s? I think it is in some sense. There's an argument to be made maybe pro and for what Scheffler is doing this year. The for is that you could say, well, golf is even deeper than it was when Tiger was playing. So the fact that Scheffler is able to do this right now is impressive. But then I'll flip it right away and say, well, Tiger didn't have the LIV Tour at that time where top players in the world have exited off to the side and are playing in different events. Scottie Scheffler in some of these wins has not have to face Bryson DeChambeau, has not have to face Jon Rahm, has not have to face Brooks Koepka, has not have to face Cam Smith. So maybe we could sit here and say, well, the PGA Tour field is a little bit more watered down at this moment, so maybe these accomplishments aren't as impressive. I feel like I could argue either side because I think the fields are as deep as they ever been. I'm thinking the quality of play at the bottom of the PGA Tour and maybe on the Korn Ferry Tour is still better than maybe what the 50th ranked player was in the world when Tiger was doing this 25 years ago. So I feel like I could argue both sides on that. In terms of just the charisma, the entertainment value, how he's winning it, it's definitely, I think, a difference in that aspect. We were so entertained by how Tiger played. We were so in awe of how he played golf in a different manner. Scheffler, let's face it, he plays kind of boring, and he's not a guy that's going to pump his fist way up in the air. He's not a guy that's going to give us that fierce competitive look on the tee that we all were looking at and saying, man, this guy is as good a competitor as anybody in any sport. Like, there's a little different in terms of just how they carry themselves that maybe makes us feel that way, because at the end of the day, we can be awed by Scheffler's golf and his accomplishments, but at the end to say, like, man, was that fun to watch? You probably will never get it to the level that Tiger did.
Brian Koziol hosts a Tee to Green. Boy, you brought up the DeChambeau, and last time we spoke was after the last major, and it's funny how some of the narratives have completely flipped coming out of that, meaning, hey, in Rochester, we love Rory, and then we see what's going on in his personal life, and then, well, we see him actually kind of – the gentleman's game for him to peel off, that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. He commented on that the first time. So I guess my question here is about Rory, and where do you think he is at right now with the way he's handled things in the last couple of months, and how you like his chances coming up this week?
I thought it was interesting, the exchange that McIlroy said that he and Tiger Woods had when Rory was talking about missing those putts at the end of the U.S. Open and how heartbreaking it was for him. He said I guess Tiger had reached out to him, but they changed. I don't know if it was Tiger changed his phone number or Rory changed his phone number.
Rory changed his number, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't get actually connected on it. But then Rory, I guess, reached out to Tiger and just asked him. He said, I kind of had this discomfort feeling a little playing down there, and then a reporter asked Tiger, like, hey, have you ever had that feeling? And Tiger actually said yes. And he said, part of what made it so great for me is that he said, like, I wanted to overcome that feeling too, beyond the fact of winning the tournament. So Tiger could have went the other road and said, nope, like, I was focused all the time. I never felt the pressure. No, he admitted too that, hey, I get that, I guess Rory used the word discomfort, but let's face it, it's nerves, it's discomfort, it's apprehensiveness, it's everything that we feel when we're playing a sport where we feel pressure. So I thought both for Rory and for Tiger to talk about that this week, it kind of made them feel a little bit more human in the sense that, look, Rory definitely has that cloud hanging over him, that monkey on his back right now with the fact that he hasn't won a major. He knows he's going to be asked about it every single time the majors are played until he wins one, and now it's going on a decade plus. Here's why I think McIlroy sometimes still gets maybe a little bit too much criticism than maybe he should. Unlike other players that have gone through major droughts, while the droughts have happened, their game has suffered. They've fallen out of the rankings. They haven't won. I could go ahead and throw a current player on that level. Maybe someone like Jordan Spieth. His game's been struggling. He's been tough. We know David Duval was number one in the world, fell off and never got it back. Through this decade of Rory not winning a major, Rory has never, ever dropped out of the top 5. He has had every single season where he's won at least once. In fact, if you look at the last 5 years, he's won multiple times on both tours all over the world. So I don't think that it's not Rory saying that he's not a good player or that his game is off. I think it's right there. He's had a chance to win so many majors here over these last dozen or so. He's definitely got to overcome something, though, mentally to get himself past this. He said it took him a couple of days to get himself over the U.S. Open. I loved what he said today. He goes, I went and walked the High Line in New York City. He goes, I just wanted to walk. And he goes, I was out there, he goes, kind of with the herd of everybody else just going about their day. And he goes, nobody was bothering me. And he goes, I kind of felt just like the rest of the world, like, hey, nobody else here that's walking on this High Line right now with me. He gives and he used an S word, it gives a whatever that I missed a putt at the U.S. Open. So he's like, I got to let it go too. So I kind of love that frame of mind. I thought he played well this week at the Scottish Open, finished tied for 4th, had a chance to win going into Sunday. So I think his golf game is still great. I do think he's going to win a major here upcoming. He could win this week. I mean, if you said, give me one player to pick this week, I feel like you could give me a coin flip between Scheffler and McIlroy. I still think his game is that good right now. So I'm rooting for him because I think he's a great ambassador for golf. I like how he's open and honest with media. We always want our athletes to kind of let us in to what they're feeling like, and he does that. So I'm rooting for him. I hope he has success this week.
All right, Brian, so you said coin flip between Rory and Scotty, and there are a couple of the favorites going into this weekend. What about a dark horse? You got somebody that has longer odds that you might think could step up and conquer the course this weekend?
All right, I'll give you 2 names. I was all excited this week because I knew you were going to ask me about it. I know when I go on with the guys on WGR, they're going to ask me about it. And I was all ready to go with Robert McIntyre and talk about how great it was that when I saw him at the Canadian Open and then he won, and then he went and won this week. And I'm like, well, not only is that not a dark horse pick anymore, but winning back-to-back weeks with how he says he was going to celebrate that Scottish Open win, I don't know if I want to go down that route anymore, even though I think he's playing outstanding golf. 2 names that are kind of down the board that I would say haven't won a major yet. I'll give you one kind of mid-range name. Sahith Theegala has been playing very well as of late, tied for 4th last week at the Scottish Open. He's been up and down at majors, but I feel like because he's such a creative player, he's a guy that says, I'm willing to try and hit all sorts of different shots. We know at the Open Championship venue, sometimes you have to maybe get creative, be willing to come out of whatever your best game is to try other things. So I kind of like Theegala as maybe my mid-range dark horse. And then way down the board, a guy who wasn't even eligible to play, but because of his strong finish last week at the Scottish Open got in, and that's Aaron Rai. He's been pretty hot lately on the PGA Tour. His last 3 tournaments, tied for 2nd, tied for 7th, tied for 4th. He's a guy maybe a lot of you listening right now don't even know who he is. He wears 2 gloves, but Aaron Rai from England could be maybe the way down the board sleeper that I'll throw out there for you.
Last golf question for me, Brian. And last time we had you on, I remember, look, wait a second, you were hearing chatter that we could have an announcement finally after a calendar year of having some sort of resolution between the PGA and LIV in terms of a merger. And here we are mid-July, and we're still status quo. Where are things at? What, if anything, do we know right now?
Yeah, I think, the news that I was hearing about that, it was there, but now they're not fully ready to disclose it because they said, look, we were so terrible last time with talking about the agreement, how they didn't have details. They're not going to come out, I think, the PGA Tour with an announcement until every single I is dotted and T is crossed. They want to make sure everything is tightened up because they don't want to have holes poked in it. In terms of a timeline, it seems like it's gone on forever. I mean, we are a year plus. The last year's Canadian Open, which would have been early June last year, is when we heard that there was an agreement. So now we're on, 13 months going, and we still don't have anything concrete in terms of an agreement. I think for golf, they have to get something nailed down this summer at some point. And I think all fans really just want to know, tell me how the best players in the world are going to get to play against each other more than just 4 times a year. And every year that this goes on without something being done about it, you're going to have less and less of those guys that people consider to be the best players in the world have a chance to compete together because their exemptions run out. Their world rankings are going to fall off. Their points are not going to be eligible anymore. So the sooner the better. You know, I understand why it continues to get delayed, but man, for the golf world and for fans that want to see the best players play like we are going to see this week, the sooner the better for sure.
Brian, we haven't had you on since the NHL draft and free agency and the Sabres overhauling their bottom 6. I'm curious to get just some of your thoughts on what the team has done so far this offseason.
Well, I'll start with the trades. I know yesterday I was playing in a charity golf tournament up in Toronto, actually. Zach Hyman's from the Oilers, his charity tournament. In my group, Carl Koliakovo, the former Leaf and former Sabre, was in the group. He hosts up Toronto radio. We were talking, and he had said how, Matt Savoy, that trade for Ryan McLeod for Edmonton, how he thought the Sabres took a lot of unnecessary grief through the media and with fans. He's like, look, that's a trade. He goes, you just have to make it if you're Kevin Adams. He's like, it's a player right now that's a player that's hard to play against, a younger player, and you need him he's going to step into your lineup right away. Now, Matt Savoy's got a lot of talent, but he goes, look, how many smaller, skilled finesse players that maybe have a little injury proneness to them do the Sabres have in their organization? And he kept rattling off names one after another. I'm like, yep, they have a lot of those guys, including ones that are on the NHL roster. So he goes, even if head-to-head, he goes, if you do the tail of the tape, you would check off more boxes for Savoy than you would for McLeod. He goes, all that matters is this season right now for Kevin Adams. And I would say, to add on to that, in my opinion, if the Sabres essentially play status quo and don't make the playoffs or don't get themselves on the doorstep of the playoffs, if they do what they did last year and finish about a dozen points out, Kevin Adams is not even going to have another draft or another chance to make trades. So a trade like that is good. They had to rebuild the bottom 6. They did that with acquiring a couple of other players. I like the Lafferty move. He was a player that's tougher to play against. I think that's kind of the theme of the Sabres' bottom 6 there. How can we get guys that are tougher to play against that can maybe wear down our opponents a little? I think the Sabres, we know, have skill, but I don't know if another team really fears or at all finds playing the Sabres annoying in any capacity. We know their goaltending seems to be set. The defense with the trade they made for Bo Byram last year seems to be somewhat set. I still think a top forward that can help bolster their top 6 would be needed. They lost some goal production from Jeff Skinner. I understand the move to remove Jeff Skinner. You could definitely argue maybe he's on the backside of his career. He was a defensive liability. The goals, but still, he scored 25 to 30. Like, where is that going to be made up from? Are you just going to hope that Roseanne or Kulik or some of these guys like Benson are going to score more? That's what he did last year, that Kevin Adams did. He hoped that those guys would maybe just continue to springboard forward, and everybody either stayed where they were at or they dropped. So I don't know if just hoping that they're going to rebound is the best strategy for a GM whose life is on the line. If I'm him, I have to still make one more trade to get another player that can play in the top 6 and definitely improve the scoring, because that's what the Sabres didn't do last year, which was score. They actually got great goaltending. In fact, UPL in months of January and February put up numbers as good as like a Vezina goalie, and they lost all those games because they couldn't get that second goal. They couldn't get that game to overtime. They couldn't pick up those loser points, and they lost a lot of games 2-1, 3-2. And I like what he did with the bottom 6 with the improvement. I like the McLeod trade. There still, though, isn't a guy that was brought in, nor that's in the top 6 now that's changed that says to me, yep, that's the guy that can really help score that much-needed goal. I still don't see that. I think he needs to do that still.
Brian Koziel, tee to green. Where are you guys at this weekend?
We are at Niagara Falls Country Club in Lewiston. It is the annual Porter Cup Amateur Tournament, and it's really a great event. The second year now that they're putting the men and the women together. They've got some of the top amateurs playing across the world. They've got over 100 players from a variety of countries coming in. just for those that have never maybe heard anything about the Porter Cup, Tiger Woods played in it in 1994. He actually made a hole-in-one on the 12th hole at the course. They have a little plaque there for it. Phil Mickelson won the event in 1990. David Duval won the event in the early 90s. Current players that have played at the Porter Cup, Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Max Homa, Ricky Fowler, Adam Scott, so like Dustin Johnson. So all these guys have played in it. Brooke Henderson played on the women's side. So there's some really legit names. Here's one cool stat I saw when I was reading up on it. There's 93 current players that play in the PGA Tour, the LIV Tour, and the LPGA Tour that have played in a Porter Cup event at Niagara Falls Country Club. So if anybody in the Rochester area is just looking for something to do this week, it's free. It's at Niagara Falls Country Club Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and tee times start at 8 a.m. each day. They do split tees, so you get there, you'll be seeing golf all over the course. I know everybody up at Niagara Falls Country Club was inviting spectators, so if you're looking for something to do, you want to watch some of the best amateur collegiate players in the world, they'll be up in Niagara Falls this week, and we'll be doing a 2-hour show because of that and also because of the Open Championship, so 7 to 9 on WGR and the Odyssey app.
Brian, it sounds awesome. Really appreciate you giving us some time setting us up for this weekend and sharing some of your insight on the Sabres as well. Let's do it again, bud.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Enjoy the Open.
Brian Koziel. You can hear him on Tee to Green and the free-to-download Odyssey app on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR, and it's part of the Buffalo Sabres radio network.
Yeah, fun conversation with him, and we have time for your calls. Happy hour coming up, 866-4FAN.
Yes, absolutely. We got to go back to what Tiger said to Colin Montgomery, too. That was just too good. I mean, is
it take of the year worthy, though?
Ooh. Now we're talking.
No, I mean, as far as Tiger quotes,
one of his best.
Like that was always a run bet. I like my chances. I like the court. Like
he was robotic.
Robotic. Yeah, this is not robotic.
Yeah, this is truly a stay down kind of quote from Tiger Woods. We'll get into that. We'll discuss a little bit more what we talked about with 13 Wham Sports Director Mike Catalana as the Bills rookies report to St. John Fisher today. And we'll go around the NFL as well, pick up some other news and notes happening around the league. We got a round of shots. And last call, and as you mentioned, Gino, 585-866-4FAN if you'd like to pull up a stool. 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports. WDEE HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
It's the Major League Baseball All-Star Game tonight. Pittsburgh's Paul Skeens going against Baltimore's Corbin Burns. 8 o'clock for the coverage tonight. Chris Brown has the interim tag taken off as the play-by-play announcer for Buffalo Bills football. Brown taking over for John Murphy. Bills rookies reporting today to St. John Fisher University. The first full team practice open to the public Wednesday, July 24th. A couple notes from the NFL today. The Chicago Bears signed both of their first-round picks. Quarterback Caleb Williams and wide receiver Roma Dunze. San Francisco 49er wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today save half off to Lasertron in Henrietta. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
No, that's not fair, and I'm guessing that executive will be looking for work sooner rather than later if that's his analysis of Josh Allen. To call him one of the more overrated quarterbacks is asinine, in my opinion.
Mike Danger.
It's a celebration. We're gonna celebrate, pal. Happy football. It's here.
Football, yes!
Gene Battaglia.
Josh Allen, good that he's relaxing, having some fun at Tahoe, shooting baskets. I don't know if you saw that, but what can Josh Allen actually do to be better this year to get the Buffalo Bills where they need to be?
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome to Happy Hour. Thanks for listening to The Sports Bar. Thanks for watching The Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, on Twitch as well, and the free-to-download Odyssey app and on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Look, I think both you and I are in agreement. We're happy for Chris Brown. Chris Brown is good at his job, and he gets the official nod. We kind of knew that was the path they were going. He did all last year on the kind of interim tag.
Did they have to do it this way for EEO? Meaning, okay, I think this time last year, John Murphy, you're still hoping if you're Murph, and certainly we wish Murph the best. Like, hey, I'm going to make a comeback. I'm going to try.
Murph hadn't officially retired this time last year.
Correct. So it's getting later in the year, and like, okay, then we got to do it. So therefore, you got to actually post the job. I can't imagine Brownie having to kind of sit there and be like, hey, aren't I the guy here? Like, did you not hear my call?
Well, all I was going to say is for them to not reach out to this man standing across me, at least a phone call, a little courtesy. Hey, we'd like to talk to you about it, even to be discussed. Even if we know, Brownie's probably the most qualified. He's been doing the job after all.
You're going to get me in trouble here, dude.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
No, well, look, I applied, but I did it for this reason, okay? I want to meet people. I would like to be on the Buffalo Bills radio broadcast. They didn't even return my call. So, yeah, no, but it's kind of can we just be honest? It's kind of a weird thing. Like, we do our thing here in Rochester, and we know that a lot of people you listen also to WGR, but it's like
professional courtesy.
Yes.
Professional courtesy.
Right.
Like, you're not like a barista trying to apply for a job that you're not qualified for. You have qualifications. Like, even if you're not getting that job, and let's face it, it was probably Brownie's job all along, and them having to post this
wrote
was
in the cover letter to them, Chris Brown is your guy.
Yes.
Is there an opportunity to sit down? Because if you actually are interviewing people, I would like to know you. You can get anything. So it's just the world. Look, that's just the world. I'm not bitching, but you brought it up.
No, I'm
It's
bitching.
like, yeah.
I think that's Bush. I think that's ridiculous. God, pick up the phone. This isn't this isn't somebody working the drive-thru at Taco Bell that thinks they can do what we do because they have a microphone in their face all day. No, he's a guy who does this and does it at a high level consistently throughout the year. What are we talking about?
Well, if this company doesn't value, then,
yeah.
Well, maybe.
That's unfortunate. Well, fortunate for Chris Brown. Happy for Chris Brown. And of course, wishing John Murphy all the best in his retirement. That move was made official today. Also made official today, the Bills rookies reporting to training camp.
Yeah, and so this is the part that's behind closed doors. So the Bills' brain trust is already here. They're already working with the rookies, already getting the plays down.
Is today or tomorrow the day that Chris Carter comes in and talks about how you need to have a fall guy?
No.
Is that happening?
I don't think that's
point?
happening.
No, that doesn't happen anymore.
No, but I wonder, like, if they have, like, tell us your story, get up in front of the rookies. It's good that you have this bonding. The Bills aren't the only team. There are some teams that have everybody reporting one day. If I'm running an NFL team, I'm certainly having the extra work. This is an extra week. So McDermott, all the coaches are already here. And I would assume Brandon Beane is already here. Everybody reports next Tuesday. First practice being on Wednesday. Look, summer's fantastic. Can't wait, though, for Buffalo Bills football to actually return.
Yeah, so the Bills, the rookies for the Bills, the Bears, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Saints, the Giants, and the Niners all have reported to camp. The Ravens rookies reported actually back on Saturday, and the rest of the NFL teams will start in the coming days here with everybody's full roster reporting coming up here a week from tomorrow, July 24th.
And as far as the rookies, like if you're taking what Kansas City did a couple years ago, winning the Super Bowl, and so many of those rookies actually contributed, how many actually need to contribute from this year? Is it 3? Is it 4? Could you, because look, people are talking about Daquan Hardy, a player we didn't even realize at the end of the. No, could that actually be the return guy? If that's the case, what about 5? Because my anticipation is Coleman is going to be a part of the offense, and you'll see him more often than not as a wide receiver. My belief is that Cole Bishop will be starting at safety. That's 2. I believe, and this is funny, when we talked to Matt Perino went on BetMGM last night. I don't know if you saw that,
nice.
Danger. Yeah, and talking about the Bills' running game, and he said, look, James Cook, and I don't know which way this is going to go. Will Cook take that next step and actually be, wow, this is a running back you want to draft in the first round? Or, as we've talked to other people, Ray Davis is ready for the NFL. 1,000 yards with 3 different teams. First guy in NCAA history at the Division I level to do that. Ray Davis is ready for this offense. I anticipate Ray Davis being a big part. What about Cedric Van Pran-Granger? Could he challenge for time? Is it a good thing or a bad thing if we're talking about potentially 5 or more rookies this year, like actually being meaningful contributors?
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. In fact, I think that's their plan because they made a conscious decision this offseason to get younger. They're one of the oldest teams in the league last season. And, yeah, to get younger, to give some of these guys some reps, get them on the field, assuming that they know what they're doing and they know where they need to be. I would imagine they'll pick that up pretty quickly here over the course of the next few weeks with the preseason just a few short weeks away. Brandon Ayuk has officially asked for a trade. This has been going on all off season. It's nothing new for the San Francisco 49ers. They went through this with Deebo Samuel before he got paid. They went through this with their kicker back in the day, Robbie Gould, before he got paid. It happened with Bosa just last year, Nick Bosa just last year. So they've said they don't have any intention of trading Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk asking for the trade after an offseason, in his words, of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. He's entering the final option year of his rookie deal, set to make $14.1 million this season. And I don't know that there's a team out there that's willing to give up the draft capital and then pay Brandon Ayuk what he wants to make this happen. I don't think Brandon Ayuk's going anywhere.
I go back to Josh Allen year number 3, where, hey, you brought him in first year, there was nobody. Next year, hey, it was going to be Beasley and John Brown. Okay, still not enough. He made the Diggs deal. Is there a young quarterback right now that needs something like this? I think it's too soon in Washington and New England, teams that have the money. I
was going to say New England. I think Washington makes a lot of sense. You give a weapon to your young quarterback. But what are you giving the Niners back in return if the Niners are asking for a second? If the Niners are asking for a first.
They should ask for a second. If Steph Diggs got a second at this point of the game, what will happen? What if there's an injury somewhere? Oh, my gosh. Oh, it happens every year, Danger.
Sure. Yeah, if I had to predict, I say he's probably a Niner. At some point, a deal gets done during the preseason, and he is still under contract. He can hold out They can fine him. They can do all of that. But I actually believe that they do want him to be a part of their organization, just not at the price that he believes he's worthy of. And I don't see Brandon Ayuk as a $27 to $30 million a year wide receiver. I just don't. And the wide receiver market has blown up this year with everybody getting theirs from Jefferson to Chase. So Ayuk's not on that level, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to be focused on, at St. John Fisher, because if we did the exercise right now, Brandon Ayuk or so-and-so, you're going to say Ayuk every single time, but is it just the numbers here, the fact that something has to pop for the Bills? Maybe it's Chase Claypool. Maybe it's KJ Hamler. Something has to come through here where you're not going to pay top dollar, and that's going to be one of the fascinating things. Good that we talked to Mike Catalana, because I wasn't aware of this, that you posed him the question, hey, has Josh Allen done any work outside of the mini camps, outside of everything? And was not aware that there was this KJ Hamler video, apparently, that was taken down in Nashville, which we can piece together would have been around the same time of Dawson Knox's wedding, that you see Josh Allen there, and you're left to assume that they're working together. That would be fantastic. That's what we want, more work here this offseason.
Yeah, what kind of work? Is it them working out? I didn't see the video, so I don't know. If it's them working out, that's one thing. If it's them on a field with Josh throwing passes to a wide receiver, that's what I'm talking about. And because you've heard the best quarterbacks and the best players do that. Like, they will go beyond just the organized stuff from the team. They will work out on their own. They'll do their own private workouts with their teammates, and they'll build that relationship, that chemistry, that bond, and get after it. And I want to say Allen did that with Diggs when they first announced that trade, right? So, it might not be a player's favorite thing to do because, let's face it, you're not getting paid for the extra work, but it might pay dividends long-term when you have that relationship early on in the season, knowing that you did put in a little extra time. I don't know that like everything we've seen of Josh Allen this summer, it's fantastic. Dude's enjoying his life. He should. He's on top of the world. He's living, as they say, living his best life. I don't know that he's living the life that Paul Skeens is living, but it's close. It's close.
Let me, I got to look up Peter, our pollster. He does this. Like, he's our quasi-producer. Like, who's living their best life today? Travis Kelce, Paul Skeens, Josh Allen. Yeah, we don't have enough votes on that.
My vote is for Skeens.
Skeens, yeah.
But I think Allen.
I think Kelce.
I think Allen is having a lot of fun, and like I said, good. He can do what he wants with his free time. He can do what he wants with the off season. But the best of the best will find the time during the off season to do those workouts, to go above and beyond, to build that chemistry. And this would be the year to do it with so many new faces and such a change and a departure from what we had last year.
Peter's birthday, too.
Happy birthday, Pete.
Yeah, best polls, including things he loves about the sports bar. Chuck Muncie, Yacht Rock songs, the Bills, the Mets, the Bears, charcuterie boards, Scott Hetzko impressions. There's no Scott Hetzko impression.
I don't know. We don't have impressions. We actually have the count. Count Hetzko tells us when there's severe weather coming our way, how much rain or snow we're going to get.
I hear you very much, my danger.
Hey.
Scary yesterday. Did you see the big storm in Victor?
I did.
Yes, with the hail coming out, the ice, quarter inch, half inch. Be sure to watch the 13 FAM news tonight at 6 and 7, or your life may be in peril.
13... You say 13 VAM? V-A-M?
I'm the count. 13 VAM.
V-A-M.
Why would it so hard to understand?
I don't understand. I'm sorry. Say hi to Catalana. Count. Thanks.
Will do.
Catalana was great. We posed a question to him. Hey, look, if you're a guy that's going to the Hall of Fame, as Catalana is going into the New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame, you've been around. And you know there aren't too many tricks that you're not aware of. I thought it was funny. We talked about the quote yesterday, that the NFL executive that believes that Josh Allen is one of the more overrated quarterbacks in the NFL.
Not just that, overrated player.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. Eyebrow raising. And today, we had Talbot on with us yesterday, and he said, it's asinine. That's ridiculous. That GM's probably not going to be, or that executive's not going to be an executive much longer if that's their evaluation of Josh Allen. And, of course, today you have Cowher and you have Dan Orlovsky and you have others all basically saying how ridiculous this is, that this is, if anything, a player who's underrated. And yesterday we were trying to, figure out what the source, what the reasoning was for putting this out there. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN's a respectable reporter. Why are you putting this out there? Who's behind that quote? He didn't name names. He didn't.
No,
it's an opinion.
Yeah, it's an opinion, and that's why it's not that big a deal. And just kind of reviewing things that are fact, you got to be really buttoned up with.
Yeah, have your sources.
Yeah, an opinion, and this is kind of the gray area. Is this really news? Here's somebody. It's somebody's opinion. Yeah,
it's just one of those things that we like to talk about as we get ready for training camp, and that's why I kind of thought to myself, it wouldn't be. Maybe it's a little out of character, but would it be shocking if this is a report that was originated from, or this was a quote that was originated from Brandon Beane? That Brandon Beane didn't necessarily say it, other than just to plan this with Fowler and say, "Hey, I'll give you a chip down the road. You got one in the bank."
Yeah, I have respect for Jeremy Fowler. I don't think he would take that bait, knowing that I'm being used as a pawn,
a motivational piece.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be used in that way. But the reality is, if you get to be an NFL executive, well, you're pretty bright. You've been around a while. You had to work your way up. Somebody is doing that for a reason. Like, don't look at the story itself. Look there as to why. What is the reason somebody's putting that out there? And talking with Catalani is like, look, it just could be as simple as this is somebody that botched that draft and wants to save face a little bit. And complete speculation. Somebody like Gettleman didn't have to be an executive today.
Right. It could have also been somebody who, quite honestly, makes Josh Allen look bad. Could have been Joe Douglas of the Jets or somebody from the Jets organization, because let's face it, he struggles against the Jets defense. So maybe that was it. In their eyes, yeah, he's kind of overrated. We have him figured out. We're not too worried about that guy when we have to face him twice a year. So I thought that was an interesting thing to kind of like dive into a little bit more today, seeing that everybody else kind of piled on in defense of Josh Allen and, overrated. He's underrated. Yeah, he is kind of underrated when you consider everything.
Yeah, take Josh Allen off. I know Bills fans don't want to think about that scenario. It's 4-13. This team is drafting in the top 10. Okay, it will go that bad if Josh Allen were not on this team. If you had Mitchell Trubisky and some other guy as the quarterback, he's that valuable. But we judge the MVP on different criteria. Josh Allen is going to win the MVP if he cuts down his turnovers in half. I think it's that simple. If he shows up in the primetime games, and you don't have to necessarily be the top seed danger, but when you look at everything else around this team, and then people will say, they're doing better without Diggs. How is that? What are the reasons? Josh Allen.
That's right.
Josh Allen, you could say right now, I don't know what his odds are, but if you went from that standpoint, if he just took a step forward, he should be your MVP.
Also, though, the flip side of that coin is if the Bills struggle and Josh Allen is healthy, he becomes kind of your de facto scapegoat for the season, does he not?
Yeah, if he becomes the hero ball, I'm doing this because the defense was fine last year, but it's a tough schedule. It's like,
no scapegoats this year going into the season for Sean McDermott. And maybe not even last season. I mean, Ken Dorsey being, relieved of his duties in the middle of the season. I don't know that anybody had that on their bingo card during the preseason.
Oh, we did.
We thought that Dorsey was going to be in trouble.
Oh yeah, we certainly. I don't know the timing. We didn't have Denver Monday night. I'll tell you that.
These narratives are they come at us like we were talking about yesterday. They come at us fast and furious, and you forget that a coordinator was in any sort of hot water. So who's the scapegoat this year? If something does go bad, it's probably the quarterback. The quarterback gets too much of the praise when the team is winning, and they get too much of the blame when the team is losing.
How many special teams coordinators, just because of the personnel and not knowing what's really this is all about, some will be unprepared, What's the over-under by the end of September that special teams coordinators get fired? I'd say at least 4 in the NFL.
Or do they treat special teams coordinators like punters, where it's like, we'll worry about it later. We'll just tough it out.
Listen, this year you shouldn't do that. Yeah. You're like, there's going to be some game where, oh my gosh, look at this quarterback. He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but then special teams gave up 3 touchdowns and you lost.
Start hiring from the UFL, anybody that has experience in the old XFL and the old kickoff rules.
You say that tongue in cheek. Why not?
That would make a lot of sense. Great having Brian Cozy along with us as well. Joined us last hour to give us a little preview of the Open Championship. He likes Scotty Scheffler, and we brought this up to him as well. And I'm glad he talked me through what I'm going through with the sport of golf right now, because I see what Scheffler is doing, and I'm just not as impressed. I want to like the guy. I want to like his accomplishments, but I can't compare it to the high that we felt when Tiger was at what he was doing.
Right, and he did a great job, Brian did, of laying out both sides because, yeah, it's watered down. Like Brooks Koepka, all these guys, John Rahm, DeChambeau, they're all playing a different tour. So how many of these wins happen with a watered-down field? But then Brian accurately pointed out, look, the 50th guy on the PGA Tour right now, like way, way better than what was on the tour 15, 20 years ago when Tiger was at his peak.
Speaking of Tiger, had a chance to speak today before the Open.
Wait,
set this up.
Okay, so I didn't catch this, but it was Colin Montgomery. So who knew Colin Montgomery? You remember him from years ago with
Romy.
Monty.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Call him Mrs. Doubtfire. Monty. He had opinion, and gosh, I remember him the 95 Ryder Cup at Oak Hill. Like the gallery was following him around. He was a big character, figuratively and literally.
Kind of a jerk too, right?
He is a dick.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. Sorry about that, but that's who he is, Montgomery, and he didn't play well here. So Montgomery offering his opinion on Tiger Woods, and I'm paraphrasing here, way past the time you should retire everything else. Koziel pointing out, like, look, there were other ways you could have said this. I wish we didn't see Tiger like this. I wonder if Tiger is enjoying his time out there. You didn't have to come out and put Tiger Woods on full blast and shame him for golfing. Well, Tiger Woods taking the podium today at the Open, and he knew that the question was coming. Hey, what did you think about the comments from Colin Montgomery?
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do. So when I get to be at his age, I can still make that decision when he doesn't.
That's Tiger Woods.
Yes.
From the baseline.
Wow.
Yeah.
From way downtown.
Just draining
Bang.
it. That's
Bang.
right. Stay
wow.
down. Stay down. Yeah, that's a good one. That's
okay. Is that take of the year worthy?
All right, that's the question. That is the question.
Let's review some of the other take of the years if you have a second. Like, what is he up against if we're going to say take of the year?
Well, there's a lot of options here, Gino. We're not going to be able to get through all of them.
Okay, so pick me a few favorites, like a few leaders, would you say, right?
All right. Well, if you were to ask me the leader in the clubhouse right now for take of the year, it's got to go to Charles Barkley on the New Orleans Pelicans' early exit from this season's NBA postseason.
Disappointing New Orleans. Where they going, Chuck? Galveston? That dirty-ass water. We're not even going to send them to Cancun. We're going to send them to Galveston with that dirty-ass water be washed up on the shore. You people think they're in the beach. Y'all gonna send y'all to Cancun. Y'all drive y'all quit. Drive your ass down to Galveston. Come on, man.
So they're not taking a little.
Come on, they didn't even try, man. We're not getting them no plane ticket to the beach. We send their ass to Galveston, Texas, right where that dirty water washed up on the beach. They can't even get in the water. Come on, man.
I'm gonna miss them so much.
Oh, that's gonna be tough.
That's a tough one to beat.
Okay, can I give you another one? One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like Trent Baalke.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just
Trent Baalke owning it.
Jacksonville Jaguar GM Trent Baalke.
We're not there yet. We still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final board yet. We'll do that on Monday.
That's, a little added color there from the Dandalorian, unnecessarily, by the way.
Right, we got to take that off.
I mean, we have some class here in the sports bar, please. That's Trent Baalke owning it. I kind of like I'd like to tip the cap to one of the greats. We're not here if it's not for the great Mike Francesa, a trailblazer.
Mike Francesa.
In our field.
Yeah, with Aaron Rodgers, bringing in Randall Cobb and all these other players, right? Following him to the Jets. And, man, why not bring over his favorite offensive lineman?
I'm sure Rodgers is going to want to get Bacteria involved, but you know what? Bacteria is a guy who has been ravaged the last couple of years by injuries.
It's pretty good.
Do we get bonus points for? It sounds like his dentures are slipping out or something.
Oh, no.
No, sorry, that was mean.
And then you have today's.
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do. So when I get to be at his age, I can still make that decision when he doesn't.
I like that.
Yeah.
You have the crowd reacting. Some clutching their pearls, others laughing, others just kind of recognizing, yeah, he's right. What is Colin? I'm Tiger Woods. You know who you're asking this question to? Yeah. I will be here as long as I want to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Colin is not. I'm not. You got to put it on the board.
It's in.
I don't think it wins, but my gosh, when we get to that show in December, Tiger Woods, his most interesting quote ever. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's pretty good. We've got that brings our total up to 10 nominees for Take of the Year in 2024. A more recent memory as well. You can't forget about Oilers Girl.
But I just wanted to say, you could be the most perfect, godly person in the world. You could save kittens from a river if they were drowning. Someone's still gonna hate you. So you know what? At the end of the day, I got drunk and whipped my out at an Oilers game and they went viral. You if you don't like it. Woo! Go Oilers!
Wait a second. You're saying Chuck? I forgot that rant.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Wow.
It's a pretty good one. You could save kittens.
You save kittens.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. People are still going to hate you. I got drunk and whipped them out at an Oilers game.
Her father must be very proud.
Of course. They're just a little bit different north of the border. Just a little bit different. Not saying bad. Just a little different. Round of shots next, Gino.
Yeah, All-Star game tonight. We'll tell you about this. Could we actually have something that hasn't happened here in recent years? That's actually better TV ratings. We have a passing today in the NBA from, I don't want to say an all-time great, but somebody certainly that has his spot in history. Also, could we be losing one of the all-time takesmen? There's a report that this guy's contract is not getting renewed.
Last call coming up before 6 o'clock as well. You can have the final word in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia when you call 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Sports Update.
Baseball takes center stage tonight in Arlington, Texas once again. It's the All-Star Game. Pittsburgh's Paul Skeens starting against Baltimore's Corbin Burns. Chris Brown, Brownie, the interim tag, taken off. He is the play-by-play announcer once and for all for the Buffalo Bills. Brown taking over for John Murphy. Bills rookies reporting today to St. John Fisher University. The first full team practice coming up on Wednesday, the 24th of July. Chicago Bears have signed both of their first-round picks, Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. San Francisco 49er wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today you can save half off to Lasertron in Henrietta, a $50 certificate for only $25. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Happy hour continues now. Time for a round of shots in the sports ball.
Yeah, if you want to watch Pirate rookie sensation Paul Skeens pitch tonight, Danger, you better tune in right at the start. NL manager Torey Lovullo says it's unlikely Skeens will pitch more than one inning. Now, look, I would hope Lovullo would make an exception if Skeens goes 1-2-3 in the first. Batting cleanup for the American League is Aaron Judge. Judge called Skeens a complete pitcher, which is saying something, seeing that he's had just 11 major league starts. If you're curious, the AL lineup starts like this. Stephen Kwan of Cleveland is leading off. He's leading the majors in batting average. Gunnar Henderson, the sensation from Baltimore, he's second. And then Juan Soto is third.
I'll be fine. If he doesn't get to Judge and it's a 1-2-3 inning, or if he just gets the first three batters, I'm okay.
Give him four batters.
I'd like that, but what does he have to do? Does he have to walk somebody? Does he have to give up a single to get to Judge?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to make it past the first inning. I think he gets out of the first inning, and then they make the change, and Skeens gets everybody to view early in the game, and then,
chances are one of those guys will get on base, too. With Skeens, this can reverse a trend that baseball would love. To reverse, the All-Star Game drew a record low 3.9 rating last year. That's bad. In fact, 5 of the past 7 All-Star Games have had the title of record low TV rating. That is not great. Ticket prices aren't crazy for this as of this morning. The get-in price tonight, $147, 8 o'clock for the coverage on Fox.
$147 to get in. That's in Dallas. A little bit more wealth, a little bit more corporate,
Right, but so therefore I thought it would have driven up there a little bit, but
yeah, got a 3.9 last year. They're not gonna. It won't be a record low tonight.
Well, if you're doing like the hour by hour, how many of us would be like, okay, there's Skeens, okay, Judge is out, Soto's out,
right?
Yeah, we're out.
Yeah, I'm not making it through the entire game. That's not happening. But I definitely will be there for the first inning.
The father of Kobe Bryant has passed away. Joe Jellybean Bryant played for the Sixers and also played at LaSalle College. After playing nearly a decade overseas in France and Italy, Bryant started coaching in 1992. He was the head coach, I didn't know this, of the WNBA's Los Angeles Sparks for parts of 3 seasons. Jellybean Bryant was 69.
He was nice. It was a good, a life well lived for the father of Kobe Bryant, and I want to say something. Every time you bring up the WNBA, I want to say something. I feel like Major League Baseball, putting Paul Skeens out there, knowing that, hey, at least if he's starting the game, we'll get some eyeballs, some attention on our sport. I'm wondering, do you think he had to be initiated, or just needed to be a little bit more patient so that the veteran players could get to their All-Star game, or do you think there's a way?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, we could dig up the cut, but so the head coach of the Team USA is also the head coach, forget her name, Cheryl somebody or other, head coach of the Minnesota Lynx of the WNBA. And so with the Taurasi injury, and Minnesota happens to be playing Indiana, somebody asked her, it was a legit question, hey, what about, and she flies off the handle. We are talking about Minnesota. We're not talking about the Olympics. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How about
That's great.
Talking about somebody who actually has elevated your sport?
Way to grow the game. Way to grow the game. That's big thinking right there.
Ooh, how about this for a fun fact? Because I didn't realize this. sometimes you trip into a nugget as you're live on the air. So I just looked up the WNBA schedule. And tonight you've got New York playing Connecticut, Vegas playing Chicago. Okay, so if you want to watch, Angel Reese, that's on at 10 o'clock on Prime. Tomorrow night's Caitlin Clark night. Indiana at Dallas, 7:30 on ESPN. Danger, it's telling. I just mentioned $147. Get-in price tomorrow night for Caitlin Clark, $149.
So if you're the sports fan in the Dallas Metroplex, you're trying to, budget your dollars here over the course of a couple of nights because you've got the All-Star game, you've got the Home Run Derby, and you've also got Caitlin Clark the following night.
I would think, too. And you and I, look, we'll forever. Okay, let's be honest. Our oldest are both women now, okay? But, we'll forever be girl dads, okay?
Always.
And when you had a girl that was in sports, so did I. How many girl dads in Dallas are like, you know what? We're going to go see Caitlin Clark. Honey, get in the car.
It's fantastic. Yes, absolutely do that. Also, grow the sport. Make it more mass appeal than it already is or is becoming, and stop denying her. It was it's just petty jealousy. It's driven me crazy the entire season.
It's weird, right? I expect a little bit of it, but
it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If we'd be saying the same thing about Major League Baseball tonight if Paul Skeens wasn't starting the game. We'd be like, why? Why is he not starting the game? That makes no sense. Major League Baseball got it right for once.
Well, I would listen to the argument that the beginning of the season for Caitlin Clark, it took a few games. And a lot of that was Indiana was playing every other night. Wow, she's not a complete player. She had a triple-double.
She's just fine. And she's handled this like a pro. She's handled this better than anybody could expect anybody to handle this. She's been great. There's been absolutely – I don't have any fault in her.
To me, I'm sorry, here's my impression of the WNBA. First year I've really followed it. There's a lot of meatheads in this league. Honestly, a lot of closed-minded people. For you would think they would have this big vision, but no. You weren't here with us all along. Why are we inviting you in now?
And for the coach to fly off the handle, I get it. You're talking about Lynx basketball, but are you saying that you're not the coach of the women's team? Are you denouncing the women's team just because you're in the WNBA season? Grow the game. Grow the game. Grow up.
Cheryl Reeve is our coach.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. What else we got, Gino?
Yeah, so there's one other story here. Skip Bayless will be out at FS1.
Hold on a second. Really?
Soon. New York Post, of course, Marshawn always comes up with these nuggets, reporting that Bayless will be leaving Undisputed this summer. So the show is going to go on, and I don't know if we're tuning in for this. Keyshawn, Michael Irvin, Richard Sherman, Rachel Nichols, Paul Pierce. It'll be a rotation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. All but Sherman have worked at ESPN.
Irvin, yes. Keyshawn, yes. Rachel, yes. Paul Pierce.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think Sherman has.
I don't think Sherman has. Bayless at the end of a 4-year, $32 million deal. How old do you think he is? He's 72.
God. And still doing it.
Doing it just fine. He goes to a few cards. He's going to be critical of LeBron, which isn't the worst.
That's good.
Have your
targets.
That and he's Dallas-based. You work for the Dallas Morning News. He's going to have a take on the Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's 72, and
where people turned on him though was the DeMar Hamlin take.
Yeah, he wasn't great. That was not his best night.
No,
not his best night. And I don't blame anybody if Bayless or Stephen A. aren't your cup of tea. I get it. I get that they're not your cup of tea, but that's kind of what makes them great is that they are polarizing, and you either love or you hate them. And the biggest personalities in our field, media, are those kind of personalities.
Well, it's interesting because these are two guys that grew up with the intention of being a fine newspaper reporter, and then they looked and, wait a second, I can make more money over there just by offering opinions, and that's more fun. They both figured out, they both transitioned over time. But they both went with the times. How many grumpy old newspaper people do we know, Danger, no names, but that just didn't adapt. You don't have to adapt like Stephen A. or Skip, but things change.
You could say, I'm not going to do that. That's not in my character. That's not what I'm about. I'm not hot takey. I'm like, I don't even like the phrase hot take. I think takes are takes. If you're saying it's a hot take, it's because it's making you think a little bit, it's a little spicier. It's making you think a little bit more about what you just heard. And if you react to it, it makes you mad or it divides an audience, it's a sign of a good take.
Maybe.
You don't agree with everything they say. I get it. But I think Bayless and Stephen A., for what it's worth, I think they're both really good at what they do. And you know what? In a dream scenario, like if there was a pay-per-view between Stephen A. and Skip Bayless for one night only where they just go back and forth, I would pay for it. I would pay for that. That would be something I would pay for.
So, and then now the speculation, does Bayless actually end up back at ESPN?
I mean, I kind of don't think they need him.
No. I don't think Stephen A. like Russo seems to be that guy.
I don't think Stephen A. needs him, and I think they're paying Stephen A. so much that they probably don't want to have to pay a second guy, a second name. So I think that's my dream scenario, is that we get a pay-per-view between the two.
72. What would Colin Montgomery say?
He would say, "Why is this guy still doing it? Why don't he just retire?"
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do. So when I get to maybe at his age, I can still make that decision when he doesn't.
You could hear the press corps clutching their pearls at that response.
Like I could hear like the American, like everybody that's anti-Colin just, yes.
PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In on the BetQL Network, stops by the sports bar tomorrow afternoon at 3:25. We'll get his picks for the Open Championship this weekend. And we'll also talk the second half of the baseball season with PJ when he stops by the sports bar. If you missed Brian Koziel or Mike Catalana, you could find those conversations wherever you pod. Just search out the sports bar in the free-to-download Odyssey app as well. JR Sport Brief next on the Fan Rochester.